whenever there's an episodic series, you can bet two men will talk to you. AJ Talon and Owen Finch give their thoughts on Owen and AJ Talks.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Owen and AJ Talks. I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here with
AJ Talon, and today, finally, it's the third and final part of the Recollection Trilogy, Season 8, Revelation, which, by the way, Owen, as I mentioned before, I still think Season 6 should have been called Revelation, and Season 8 should have been called Recreation. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah, especially, too, because,
Oh, not Recreation, Reconstruction.
Well, Recreation would have worked, too, because some people get recreated in this season, too, so that's why I was agreeing with you. But, yeah, definitely I agree with that. I'm happy we're finally doing this. We're going to meet another big goal because a big goal for us this year was to do the Recollection trilogy for LVB. So I'm happy that we're going to have this done today.
We got it done.
Well, don't forget, though, I still have to upload the video and everything like that, so...
True, this could be cursed like Recovery 1. It'll loop all the way back around. And by the way, Owen, I just want to point out that in this year, we have fucking done more Red versus Blue than we have in the last, 5.
And we've done more videos than we have the last...
Than in the last 5 years, yeah, honestly, true. So that's not saying much. But yeah, I guess I will read off the good old Red versus Blue Wikipedia. So, Owen, this season, Season 8, Revelation, is directed by Bernie Burns and Matt Holm again. If you remember, it was directed by Gavin Free last year, or last season. But now it's back to Bernie Burns, and he had a co-director, Matt Holm, who voices Sarge and Doc. So, yeah.
Kind of cool that he did the directing, also, Yeah. I wonder how that kind of worked, too, did he direct the scenes that, Sarge wasn't in, or did he, direct the scenes?
Yeah, I am curious about that, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Matt Holm was pretty heavily involved in the next 2 seasons as well. So it is interesting to see kind of because as I told you, Bernie Burns kind of started to take a back seat, as time went on, and after season 10, he was no longer the lead writer. So yeah, I feel like you can kind of see that here, where he had someone else direct it last season, and now he has a co-director here.
Especially too, I wonder if they also did the method, like in Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston directed an episode, but he was director and actor in one of the scenes, which is kind of cool. So it's I wonder if I guess for voice acting though, it doesn't really matter because you can do both at once, just because you can just do your voice acting post, and then obviously later on direct it and everything like that. So
right. And still written by Bernie Burns, as I said. He remains the lead writer until after season 10. And Owen, do you want to guess when this season was released?
If we had done this when we had planned on doing it, we were supposed to do it a week after season 7, but obviously that didn't happen. But I am going to guess. It said summer in the trailer. I know I'm cheating already. I'm looking shit up. It said the summer. But I'm trying to think. So I have to get. I have to guess when
it released. Remember, it is a season, so it came out weekly. But just guess when it came out.
Yeah, the first episode. If I just say when the
first episode came out.
If it said this summer, I'm going to go with June 2010. I think it was probably beginning of summer.
You were pretty close. It was April 1st, 2010 is when it began airing, and it ended on September 13th, 2010.
Oh, then I probably watched the DVD trailer. That's probably what threw me off. Because, it said released on DVD in the summer.
Well, April is the beginning of summer, so you weren't wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were pretty close. So that is Red vs. Blue Revelation, and now we shall go on to the actual season itself. This is, if you remember where we left off, it ended on a cliffhanger where Well, not really for the A plot, which is funny. A plot kind of just had Church murder CT, like the little bitch he is, and then they were kind of just in the desert with the aliens. But the B plot ended up being more significant than the A plot when you think about it, because the Meta was about to kill Simmons, Lopez, and Donut. Then Washington shows up, and we're like, "Oh, cool! Washington's gonna help us out." And it's like, nope. He shoots Lopez and Donut square in the noggin, and we get the reveal that he's a villain. And this picks up because it's funny. We were talking about how there seemed to be like a time difference between the two plots.
Mm-hmm.
And here we can kind of see that because the Desert Crew is picking up pretty much like immediately where season 7 ended, whereas the plot in Valhalla, we see a little bit of time has passed because we find out they have forced Simmons to call for a medic. And who shows up, Owen?
Yeah, so I kind of like that. But yeah, so Doc shows up. This was his big comeback into the show. We hadn't really had all the main characters really show up and really come together again. I guess we still technically never did yet because obviously
because Donut and Lopez got shot, yeah,
and then Sister died off screen. So
yeah,
but was she a main though? Was she just?
I'm not even really counting Sister because she came in like halfway through season 5 and she didn't really do anything. So I'm not even really counting her. Yeah. She was never really a main character.
But yeah, so Doc comes back. This was pretty cool. It's really weird because, we went a while without watching the Blood Gulch Chronicles, but I instantly remembered, who he was, the second that I saw him. Because, he stands out amongst everybody else because of his voice actor, and obviously, he's the only one that's, in purple and, different colors than the reds and the blues and everything like that. Yeah. So,
you're right, Owen. Purple is a different color from red or blue.
Yeah, it is. And I'm pretty sure red and blue makes purple, which is kind of the funny thing about that, too. So... yeah, there you go, getting the jokes for you.
Oh, and it only took 8 seasons, but you finally figured that out.
Well, to be fair, we took a pretty big break in between that, though.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So, just we always watching it all consistently and just never got it till now, type of thing.
Yeah.
So
I would love it. We get to the final season, and you're staring at Doc, and you're like, "Wait a minute, he's red and blue," and I'm like, "Thank you, Owen. Thank you."
Yeah. But yeah, so he's they do a call back to the first season that he shows up on, where he's radioing and trying to call command and wondering who to go help since he's a medic and everything like that. And
yeah,
Simmons is just way over he's on Doc's on a rock and Simmons is on the bottom. We can see him from Doc's perspective, and he's like, "Hey, over here, we need the help." And Doc is just like, "All right, I think I found my mission." I like that he kind of takes a shot at command, being like, "The radio never works anyways," type of thing.
Well, if you remember, the radio doesn't work. Remember?
Well, obviously, because they wiped out. Didn't they wipe out command in season 6? Is that still a tie-in?
Oh yeah. Command is wiped out, but also remember last season they were having radio issues.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that's why Doc couldn't call anyone in because
okay.
command. The radio isn't working, and even if you did call command, Project Freelancer got shut down. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So that's why I guess I knew the radio thing, but I guess I forgot I was more thinking command. Wait, I was even thinking wait, command's not really a thing anymore. So
right. But I do like that that because obviously we know what happened last season, but for Doc, he shows up, he sees Simmons, and he's like, "Oh, radio's not working. That's really weird." But we already know shit, Yeah.
So so Doc and Simmons reunite, and Simmons is just like, "Oh, it's Doc," and he apologizes, "Sorry, Doc, I didn't think that they would send you," and he kind of tells Doc that he needs him to check on and give a medical evaluation on who we think he's talking about, Donut, and Doc's just like, Donut's dead, dude. I can't really do much of a medical which is kind of weird because that's gonna be a call. I'm gonna come back to that later on and be like, yeah, that's kind of weird, but whatever. But Yeah, Simmons is just like Simmons again, like kind of repeats himself. It's just like, yeah, I know he's dead. And he's like, sorry, Doc, I'm sorry. I just didn't realize that they would send you. And I do like the reason that they give that it's not a coincidence that it just happened to be Doc. Like, he just happened to be close to the area type of thing. So, because that would have been too much of a coincidence out of all the medics. Doc just happened to be the one that made sense. I like that he gave the reason, like, yeah, I was the closest medic that they found. That's still kind of a coincidence, but at least they tried to make it not a coincidence. So,
yeah.
We find out that Simmons says, like, I'm sorry, they forced me to contact you. And obviously Doc doesn't really know what's going on because he hasn't been in the last 2 seasons. So Simmons is just, not Simmons, Doc is just like, what are you talking about? And he's like, what are you sorry about? And he turns around and we see that the Meta and Washington is holding, like, he's got his gun aimed at Doc and Simmons. And the Meta's just like, standing like in front of, is he in front of him or next to him? Because I feel like with the way the camera was,
like in front of him, like but like slightly covering him.
Yeah, because like obviously the animation, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be next to him or like in front of him. So, and he's like, he's sorry about us, and then the Meta, we only see it from like their perspective, but the Meta like punches them both and knocks them out, and then it cuts to like the intro saying red versus blue revelation. Really good opening. I really like this a lot. I like that we got instantly a character came back and
instantly got fucked up and captured.
Yeah, and then I liked that we got to kind of see like more badass stuff with Washington and the Meta, and I like that they did call back to the first season that Doc was on, his first appearance. And then I did kind of like Simmons here. I thought he was really good. The first half of this, I would say like the first maybe 20 minutes or so of this season, I think Simmons is probably like the MVP, I would say.
Yeah. And then, his Commander Sarge, I feel like quickly takes the MVP spot. But before that, we'll cut to the desert and go over, what's going on with them. You still have your Valhalla stuff, but I guess I'll do mine first.
Maybe I'll just do the next stuff for the capture because that's still kind of connected.
Okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, so they wake. I think we find out too. It was only Doc that got knocked out because obviously when he wakes back up, he sees, unless he just knocked them both out. But like Doc woke up later. I'm not really sure how that worked.
I'm pretty sure it was just Doc.
Yeah. But I do like Doc though. He's like questioning like Simmons, like, wait, why did you hit me? Like he doesn't realize it was in the meta. So I did think that was funny. And I do.
Well, again, like you said, he wasn't here the last 2 seasons, so he's kind of just like confused on what's happening.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know Washington or Meta.
And I did like that they because I'm pretty sure they didn't really do this very well, like in season 7, where like they when we saw Simmons again, he didn't have his gun, because typically always in OVB we've seen them with their guns like all the time, obviously, because that's in Call of Duty / Halo. They always have their guns. I'm pretty sure too. Like the last season, I didn't mention it. Like when we saw Wash, I think he had his gun, but they had to film him in a way where it looked like he didn't have his gun, type of thing. So,
yeah, even though he's in prison, he shouldn't have his gun. He shouldn't have had his armor either. But whatever.
Yeah. But I like that they drove Simmons here without his gun. I thought that was good. So it seems like they've updated the resources there. Well, they've updated them more, so we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Then I like that Simmons is cluing in Doc of kind of what's going on, but kind of in a way where like it's new to him, but it's not like a complete rehash, like completely going over season 6 and 7.
I do like that, where it's kind of like catching the audience up to speed. If it's like, just keep in mind there was like a year in between 6 and 7, and another year between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So, good way to like catch the Doc up to speed while also catching up the audience.
But not like doing it like going into completely.
Yeah. He's not literally like going over every fucking plot point. Yeah, he's just giving them like the Cliff Notes version.
Because I remember in Toy Story 4, that's one of the things I didn't like. Like Woody. I mean, I know it was like a montage, but Woody was literally like telling like the new character like everything about the first like 3 movies. And it goes on like I think a good like couple minutes in that movie. So here it was like he mentions that Wash is like recovery agent, and you know, he mentions that they work with the freelancer program, and you know, I like that Doc's is kind of showing some jabs in there. He mentions the meta, and you know, he mentions the, you know, everything that happened in season 6, and this causes Doc to realize, like, oh, you mean like the thing that was inside me in whatever season it was? Again, because it's been a while since I've watched the Blood Coach one.
It was like 4 of them. Yeah, it was seasons 2, 3, 4, and 5 that Doc had Omega.
Poor Doc. He's
yeah, I know. So Owen, you had a 4 and 5 out of 5 chances of getting it right.
I probably would have too, because I don't think it would have been 1, because I don't even think they did it.
If you said any season besides 1, you would have gotten it
right. Yeah.
Because Doc was...
But I do like this, that, you know, because Doc's had this happen to him. This causes Washington to get interested, and the meta's like approaching like both Simmons and Doc, and I don't know what the meta was gonna do, but like, you know, Wash had to like...
Well, because Doc said he had an AI. And then the meta wasn't gonna like fucking beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then Washington was like, okay, no, clarify. And then, you know, obviously Doc said he had Omega, and Washington was like, okay, that one's accounted for. We already know that one got destroyed.
Yeah. And I think that's really it for my stuff. Like, because the rest of my stuff, I think you have to talk about the stuff, like the beginning parts of the desert before I can really... Well,
you missed an important thing where Washington told Doc to scan the meta. So, because that's the entire reason they sent help. They made Simmons make a call for a medic.
Oh, yeah.
And wanted Doc to, like, evaluate the meta. And, you know, it's even better that Doc had an AI in him before, because he can, like, you know, he has more experience with the AIs. He can, like, detect any better issue, you know, anything wrong with him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that wasn't the plan, but, you know, that's just a nice bonus that Doc has experience with AI.
Yeah.
And you're missing a pretty important thing, Owen. Simmons was, you know, when he was saying what happened with, you know, Washington and how, like, he helped them shut down Project Freelancer, but now he's, you know, against them for some reason. He mentioned the meta had a bunch of AI, but they all got destroyed, and now he seems off somehow.
Yes. So, like he mentioned, you know, because he has all the freelancer equipment, but the biggest thing you need with the freelancer equipment is you need an AI to kind of help it, like, you'll be able to function and everything like that. And because the meta's just using, you know, the meta isn't really, it just has the freelancer equipment. It's causing, like, his suit and, like, him to, like, short circuit pretty much and everything like that.
Yeah, and even Washington has to tell him a few times, like, stop trying to, like, use all your powers. Like, you can't do that with your AI or when your English AI are gone.
And I do like that, you know, because last season we haven't really seen the meta and Wash interact, you know, that much, and especially this is the reveal of Wash. I like that they're not really working together. They're kind of bickering a little bit and everything like that. So, like, it's kind of like the enemy is my friend type of
thing. And in my notes, I did, like, for this, like, for their little subplot, I put, like, the Washington meta and Doc, like, buddy cop spinoff. Because that's basically what it is.
This does kind of remind me a lot of Hunted and Ben 10, where all the hunters aren't really working together.
They're not, like, fighting against each other, but they kind of just have, like, that mutual goal.
Yeah. So,
and I think it's important to mention, you know, in season 6, like, the meta, he was basically like a human just being controlled by AI. Like, the AI were doing all, like, the thinking, but now the AI are gone, so the meta is just like a broken shell, basically.
Yeah. So, like, he's, you know, and, you know, because as we found out, one of the reasons the meta is so screwed up is because he got two AI put, like, in him. So that's one of the reasons he is.
Oh, well, fucking, he had like 10 of them in there.
Yeah, but I'm saying originally that's why he's so screwed up. So
yeah, so I'm just saying, like, even though the AI are gone now, he's still, like, mentally just, like, fucked. You know,
definitely.
But yeah, so that's what's going on in Valhalla. Again, I think it's cool that we kind of got, like, a little time skip. So now we're caught up to the desert plot, which is taking place pretty much right after. In the desert, Griff is complaining to Tucker that Sarge ordered him to bury all the bodies that they killed in the previous season, but a big, like, wind gust buried all in sand before he could do anything. And Tucker was like, "Oh, so it sounds like you got your job done then." And Griff was like, I like the way you think, Blue.
I
And I like how
that.
even Sarge comes up. He's like, what? There's no way you could have buried them that quickly.
But yeah, he just took his word for it, I guess. So.
And I like Tucker's remark where Sarge was like, Tucker, did you help Griff? And he was like, dude, we've been fighting for like 8 years.
Yeah, that was good.
And, you know, obviously they haven't literally been fighting for 8 years, but like, you know, it's a joke because 8 seasons.
I did like that Tucker. It seemed like this season and last season he interacted a lot like with the Reds and everything like that. So
yeah, which is cool because he didn't really interact much with the Reds in the past, so it is kind of cool he gets to talk with them more.
Yeah,
because I think mainly in the previous seasons it was like Caboose and Church talking with the Reds.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice that Tucker is, you know, and plus, you know, Tucker came in like pretty late in the last season, so it's just nice seeing him be around for most of the season.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that.
But yeah, as they're talking, Church, who's still trapped in that like mechanical ball, is walking around the corner, and all the AI and all the aliens that were fighting him last season are being
walking,
chilled.
He's not really walking; he's floating. Most
yeah,
likely,
he's floating. Yeah, he's floating around, and all the aliens are just like worshiping him. And it's funny, Church is just saying like random bullshit. He's like, I think he even says like, okay, so this guy said another guy said something to another guy. Like everyone loved it at the end. And all the aliens are just like, oh my god, Church, you're spitting facts. And then, you know, in that little worship group, Caboose is also in there worshiping Church. And I like how he's like mad that all the other aliens are worshiping Church too. And he's like, hey, I was worshiping Church way before it was cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And Sarge and the others basically tell Church like, hey, since since all these aliens are worshiping you and you're basically the only thing like keeping them from like attacking us, why don't you like give a little speech to like the fallen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was honestly kind of surprised they're still there, but then I remember their Jeep is still fucked up.
Yeah.
And this is pretty close. This was only probably like a couple hours later, so they're probably only just hanging around until like they can get the Jeep up and running.
Yeah, pretty much. Which makes sense, you know.
And yeah, like I said, all the aliens are the only reason they're not attacking everyone is because Church is there.
Yeah, because that's the reason they started attacking CT and his crew, because they wanted like this device. So like, you know, I guess because like the device is cool with them, it makes them cool with like it makes them not attack them type of thing. So
yeah. But Church, I do like this where Church is like, you know, bragging a lot about how everyone loves him. And Griff says like, hey, how come you can't remember anything else except the fact that you're an asshole? And Tucker says some things are hardwired.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was funny. I think what's funny about this too is like you could see that Church is slash Epsilon is starting to get like his old like personality back and everything like that, because he didn't really have it yet like the last season.
Yeah, you can definitely see him like picking up like by the time we get like halfway through the season, he's pretty much like the old Church essentially.
Like he gets annoyed with Caboose like pretty quickly into the season actually. So
yeah. Like for last season, he like hit Caboose was like his buddy, and now he's like, fucking, I hate Caboose. You know.
Right.
But yeah, he tries to give this speech for the fallen soldiers, but he gets distracted because he starts seeing a vision of a black soldier, you know, off in the distance, and obviously that soldier is supposed to be Tex. And Church gets distracted. He wanders off, and he sees Tex, or this vision of Tex, wander into a base with a big waterfall next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Tucker like chases after Church, and he's like, "Oh, what? Did you have another vision?" So clear, like Tucker says that he's been having these quite a bit.
Yeah, I like that I like that they mentioned it, and you know, I would have liked to see what the first one was, but I do kind of like that he was having them off screen type of thing, which is good.
Yeah, so this is the first time it happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like that the Reds didn't know, but Tucker and Caboose knew. So, you know, because obviously Church is closer with Tucker than Caboose.
Yeah.
But yeah, Church is really interested in with this, and the Reds mentioned that this waterfall Church is describing sounds like the waterfall that's at their base in Valhalla.
Yep.
Yeah. And while this is happening, the Reds go to their Jeep, which they've just finished repairing, and they try to call Simmons back at Valhalla to just check in, let them know that just like that they got Tucker and they got Epsilon.
I think they also too like them hearing like they get kind of suspicious that they haven't really heard much from like Simmons or like anything about Valhalla. So like, and like the fact that Church kind of starts acting weird makes like Sarge like a little suspicious and everything like that. So
yeah, but Sarge calls Simmons, and I like how. So obviously we see on their end, like it seems like a pretty normal conversation, and Washington has a gun at Simmons's head, and Griff is like, okay, well they seem fine. I guess we'll get going soon. And Sarge just immediately pops up and he's like, Washington and the Meta have teamed up, killed Lopez and Donut, and captured Simmons and Doc.
Yeah.
And Griff is like, what? And you know what? It sounded kind of bullshit when he said that, but then he started explaining himself, and it is kind of cool. So
I didn't really
he
notice.
Says that,
I didn't really notice it either until like the second time. Like I thought it was just supposed to be like a bullshit type of thing, where like the character instantly knows it. But I do kind of like when he explains himself. But he did miss a pretty big thing, is that the reason they're able to get through to the Reds is because they have they have Church like float like near the Jeep.
Oh yeah. Well, they have like Church connect to it basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because he's like mechanical. But yeah, Sarge says that they have like a standard procedure for answering the radio, and they've drilled it a million times. And Simmons, being like the rule follower, it's weird that he answered like, "Hi, Sarge, how you doing?" Like he answered it very like casually.
Yeah.
And he says Simmons mentioned the radio was busted, and he's like, that doesn't make any sense because Lopez never lets things be busted, or like he always fixes them right away.
And I do like that tie-in because last season when Simmons broke the motorcycle, like Lopez was fixing it like instantly, pretty much. So
yeah, like that. And he mentions that Donut around this time has his daily wine and cheese hour. And they're like, I didn't hear any of those teacups dingling in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into like the bullshit where he's like, he mentions it's raining. And what's the state with the most amount of rain? Washington.
Well, that's probably I can kind of that one I can kind of buy a little bit. So,
yeah,
a little.
I don't know
not much, but
no. But then he's like, okay, then we gotta go rescue Doc and Simmons. And Griff is like, wait, Doc, how do you know he's there? And Sarge is like, come on, Griff. It's so obvious, I don't even want to bother explaining it.
So that one was probably bullshit.
So I do like how it like starts off like, oh, okay, Sarge is actually pretty like observant. And then it like devolves into like, okay, yeah, no, Sarge is reading the script. Which is like the joke,
Yeah. See, Neil,
it only was a joke when Near did it.
I was about to say, this is how you read the script, Neil. If you're going to read the script, do it this way. Like,
The Chad Sarge versus the fucking dumbass Near. Yeah.
But I like...
But,
yeah,
Sarge and Griff ride off, and, because Church is there, he noticed that they were leaving for their base, and because he mentioned that the waterfall might be the vision Church is having, so Church decided to, like, follow behind them.
Yeah, I like this scene here.
And after they leave, I like how Tucker goes looking for Church, and he's like, and Caboose is like, hey, do you know where he is? And he's like, I don't know, maybe he left, and the red guy's left too, I guess. And then Caboose is like, I hope not, because some aliens would be really upset if he's gone.
Yeah.
So it is kind of funny how usually it's the Blues doing important stuff and the Reds are like goofing off. And then now it's like the Reds are like doing all the important plot shit. Meanwhile, Tucker and Caboose are just like trying not to get killed by the aliens in the desert.
Yeah, because then you see like when they come back to the desert, like they do this joke a couple of times where one of the Blues would just be up on the rock and the aliens are trying to like leap up and go after them and all that type of stuff. So I like to it would just be like one of them, like Tucker, like they don't care about Tucker. Like Tucker was down there, like they could have all easily killed Tucker. I guess because Tucker had like that.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I guess because Tucker had that descendancy then, but later on he's up on the rock and they're trying to kill him.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, it's when we get that when they get back. But yeah, Caboose is up on the rock. All the aliens are trying to get them, and Caboose is like saying like, "Come on, the church isn't even really a god." And all the aliens look at Tucker, and Tucker's like, "What? That sounds like straight up blasphemy. You should kill him."
But I think
one of the aliens.
I just think what's funny about that though is like they only care about killing the alien that's on the rock. Like they could easily go.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's funny how like they don't care about killing Tucker even though he's right there.
Yeah.
And then later on, like they're only concerned with Tucker when he's on the rock. Yeah.
So it's something about that rock. Maybe it's something about that rock. They don't want him up there, type of thing. Like it's their rock. Like, It's always the same block too, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, but I do like how confident Sarge is. He's like, Washington in the meta, I got a plan to deal with those guys, and the plan fucking works pretty much.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, so I guess I'll talk about that. So you know, on the other end of this radio call, Simmons, you know, goes back over to his position. And obviously Simmons is worried because pretty much he's thinking that Sarge is going to walk into like a trap, pretty much. And, you know, they come up with an idea, though. You know, what was the name of, I forget the name, what was the name of the thing that, like, Doc was holding?
It's just like a healing tool or something.
So pretty much what he plans on doing with it is he's going to use it to use its powers on the meta, hoping it can kind of like short circuit like some of the meta's powers and everything like that. And I like that Simmons isn't really sure if this is going to work. He says it's either going to piss him off or not work, but we have to at least try. And like Doc's...
Well, he says like it could work, and then Doc is like, what, is it going to explode? And Simmons is like, what? No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, so I did kind of like that. And then doing all
this show, because it's been a while, I just want to point out, I love the banter in this show, you know? Like, it doesn't feel mean-spirited, you know? I feel like in comedy, it can be easy to, like, you know, because, like, a lot of the comedy in the show is, like, the characters, like, insulting each other. And, like, I feel like if you do that too much, it can, like, come off as mean-spirited. But, like, no, I think they do a good balance of, like, everyone kind of, like, roast each other. But, you know, as we're going to get a couple moments later on, these guys are friends, and they do like being around each other.
I do like the only one that's like mean-spirited, I guess, is like, you know, Griff and Sarge, but I feel like that's still kind of them bullshitting a little bit. And plus, too, like, it's the only one that you could say is mean-spirited. I think if everything was mean-spirited, then it'd be too much. I feel like that one's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm saying, like, and it's never like, well, I mean, we say that, but Simmons is going to leave Doc for dead in a couple minutes, but, you know, besides that.
So then Doc arrives, and he's just standing like...
you mean Sarge?
Oh, yeah, Sarge, that's what I meant.
Well, I do have the same voice actor, as I told you, so you're not completely wrong.
But Sarge arrives, and he's just standing like in front of like this like wall, you know, that we've seen all the time in Valhalla, which is important because he clearly put himself in a certain position so that way his plan would work. And he's just calling out, you know, for like... Simmons, and Washington sees that he's arrived. He sees that he's by himself. So Washington, you know, thinking that he could just go deal with him easily, is just gonna go over there himself and be like, just stay here, and if they give me any trouble, kill the other two. And I do like that. Like Doc gets all scared after this, which is pretty funny. And Washington comes face to face with Sarge, and he forces Sarge to, you know, give him his weapons. Obviously, Sarge acts surprised too that he sees him, obviously, which I thought was a good touch. But he forces him to give him his shotgun, and then he has him give him his pistol. And he's like, I do like that Sarge says, like, well, this pistol isn't really going to do much, which I think is such kind of a good Halo joke, because, like, the pistol's typically, like, the worst weapon in the whole game. Like, you're pretty much screwed if that's all you're left with, pretty much. So I thought that was a good kind of inside joke right there. And, he gives up both of his weapons, and they have a funny little banter here. You know, I like that, you know, Washington mentions that he's teamed up with the meta now, and, like, the meta's not very happy with him because he's caused him a lot of trouble. And Sarge even, like, calls out, like, Washington's BS here, being like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you caused him most of that trouble, because if you think about it, really all that trouble was Wash in Season 6.
I know, right? Washington was the one who got them all roped into all that bullshit, you know? They didn't really want to do anything with the meta.
Washington, though, I do like I thought he has a pretty good defense here. He says, well, situations have changed. And then Sarge kind of works it into the conversation where he says, well, pretty soon I'm going to need back my shotgun. And he's saying that, like, it was supposed to be, like, a code word. And obviously nothing happens when he says it. So he keeps saying it, like, again, and again. And then you hear in the background, like, behind the wall, like, Rivers is like, oh, wait, that's our cue. And I do like the Wash is even just like, wait a minute, something's not right here. Because he keeps saying like his code word like again, and again.
Well, I like how dumb Washington. It's like being around the Reds and Blues has made him dumber.
Right.
Where he's like, wait, like he literally hears Griff go, oh wait, that's my cue, and Washington's like, something's not right here.
Yeah. But Griff breaks through the wall in the Warthog, and he starts chasing after Washington, and we get our first sign of a new animation. Typically, when we see this show, it's just typically in-game animation type of thing. They just taking the game footage, but now doing all the fighting scenes and everything like that, they did their own animation. And we'll talk. And we'll talk about the end. How they balance out both. But I really like the new animation. It's kind of like the computerized animation that you see a lot in Jimmy Neutron later on. I say later on, but this was Jimmy.
It's such a weird comparison, but yeah, it is CGI. Yeah.
Obviously.
Like of all the things you could compare it to, Jimmy Neutron.
But yeah, Jimmy Neutron. Obviously. Star Wars does it a little bit. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
The Warthog is chasing after, runs over.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Washington.
not really chasing him; it fucking runs him over.
I think it starts out as chasing, but then eventually I think they speed it up enough where it runs him over. And then, they think they got him, but then Washington lifts his hands up, kind of like a Michael Myers, like dead person, like showing that they're alive and all that type of stuff. And Washington grabs his guns and starts shooting at them. They have a nice little sequence here. During all this, they drive by Sarge, and Sarge just grabs his shotgun, saying like, "Told you I was gonna need this back," which I thought was pretty funny.
Well, I do like how Washington was shooting at Griff, who was in the car. So Griff like braked, and that caused Washington to like go fly forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, he was gonna like use Sarge's shotgun to kill Griff, but because he was like flying, Sarge like ran onto some rocks and grabbed it midair.
Yeah, that was good.
If you remember in season 6, Washington, when he was fighting that like big helicopter, he like shot some explosives like into the to the jump on the base and like blew it up midair.
Yeah.
And Sarge took a little note out of his book because Washington landed in that pile of explosives.
Yeah, and Washington's kind of out of commission for like a good while. Like this kind of we don't really see much of him after this. So
yeah, I'm amazed he fucking survived that.
I know, yeah. Meanwhile, doing all of this, Doc and Simmons are trying to do their plan and use the healing unit onto the Meta. And doing all this, the Meta sees an explosion happen, and obviously the Meta remembered like, okay. And I like that they mentioned this, like, oh, looks like they're giving him trouble. We're dead, type of thing. And the Meta turns around and he gets ready to murder both Doc and Simmons. And eventually, Doc doesn't want to use his thing because his whole thing is that he's a pacifist. So Simmons takes it and uses it, and we do get a big explosion. And at first,
Simmons.
Huh?
No, Doc used it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Simmons. I thought he just took it and used it. So.
No, Doc used it.
But yeah, Doc's afraid to use it because obviously nothing's happening originally. But then eventually that big blast shoots off of it, and it sends the Meta crashing into a wall. And at first, the Meta gets up and Simmons runs and he doesn't take off, but he goes like the other side of the base. And the Meta gets ready to use one of his freelancer powers. He uses the time warp, but it doesn't really work because of this blast. It ends up only working on him, so it looks like he's moving slow. So, but everything else is moving normal. And the Meta's getting ready to like punch Doc, and doing all of this. Doc's being cocky here because obviously he thinks that the Meta's not really going to be able to like punch him for like a while. He thinks he's like going to be stuck in the slow motion for a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, what are you going to do, Meta? Are you going to beat me up over the course of the next 2 weeks?"
But Simmons is like explaining to him that that's not really the case. Like even though it looks like he's moving slower, it's really, it just looks that way. He's really moving the same speed. And like when he does hit him, it's gonna feel like as if he would when the meta actually hits him, which is still putting him like, it's even more. But I do like that when Simmons explains the science behind this to him. Doc is just like, nah, I don't. You're bluffing. Like that's not gonna happen. And then the meta ends up hitting Doc, and he goes.
Yeah, he like dings him, but it was like the force of a full punch, and it sent Doc flying into a wall where he gets stuck for like a third of the season.
Yep. And then doing all this, Church/Epsilon shows up, and he's kind of, he sees Valhalla. He's kind of wondering what's going on. And before, after we kind of see Church, Simmons and Doc have their conversation, and at first Simmons tries to pull Doc out of the wall, and the meta's still kind of moving slower, and doing all of this, the other members of the Red show up. Griff, Griff and Sarge. Yeah, I was gonna say like it wasn't this, but I forgot Tucker didn't go. So
no. Bruce and Tucker stayed back.
Yeah. And then when the meta kind of starts to regain like his full speed and everything like that, and kind of come out of this slow motion thing that he's kind of in. Simmons again, he gets upset at Donut last season that like he left him like to get shot by the meta. He's just like, he says like a proper like goodbye to like Doc, being like saying like, yeah, there's really nothing I can do to get you out of here, and like Doc is like even trying to convince like Simmons to like not leave him behind type of thing. It's like you totally have time.
I love how Simmons is like, oh, you know what, Doc, I really appreciate your sacrifice, and he's like, no, I'm not sacrificing.
Yeah.
I don't want you to leave me.
It was awesome, and what was awesome about this too was I didn't notice this when I watched this conversation like the first time. So, but then I watched it again. During this conversation, anytime we saw like Doc like trapped in the wall, he was in the new animation. And like the meta in the background was in like the also in the new animation. But Simmons was in the old style animation, so it looked really cool having this like conversation and everything. Like
yeah, they did a really good job blending the two styles together. Yeah.
Well. Yeah, they did a good job like cutting back and forth until a certain point in the season, where they stay in one animation for too long, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
But
I'll just say, because it's funny, because in Avatar I was just kind of bitching a little bit how now to be fair, this came out like 5 years later after Avatar, but in that scene in the Winter Solstice Part 1 where Aang was very clearly like a CGI model,
right? But eventually Simmons just leaves Doc just in the wall, either to die or just be there forever, who knows. But Simmons just wanted to get out of there. That's all he cared about. And doing all this, the meta gets his full speed back, and like his I guess that health gun or whatever like wore off. So they kind of did a callback to season 7 when the meta was like throwing grenades and explosives at Simmons, but what was good is they did it in like the new style, so it looked really cool. And they redid like Simmons' scream that he was doing, and he's chasing down the meta's chasing down Simmons, and Simmons leaps into the warthog, and Griff floors it pretty much, and doing all this the meta too like goes through the teleporter that we've been seeing at Valhalla. I know it's not a teleporter, it's like it's like
like the jump pad, I guess.
Yeah. So I remember I called it a teleporter one time, and you're like, oh, well, that's not what that is. But this time you were fine.
It's funny because they bring back teleporters later in the season. But yeah, no, this isn't a teleporter.
Yeah. The meta, like while he goes through this device, like is shooting like grenades and guns at the Reds doing all of this, and this causes eventually he gets like a pretty good shot on the warthog, and this causes the warthog to tip over and catch on fire, and it like flips. And like doing all this, like Simmons was like underneath like the warthog, like he almost got run over at one point. Like the thing tipped over and like almost.
Oh yeah, I loved how yeah. So yeah, Simmons was just like he held on to like the machine gun of the car, and he was just spinning around. He like fucking lost grip of it a few times and had to like go on. At one point, they go through the river, and Simmons is like,
yeah.
And something the season's really good at for like the animation parts is like they'll do good long shots.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, when the meta like jumps up high into the air, we get this really cool like one shot take. We're like following the meta's point of view, where he does like a flip in midair and fucking lands on the top of the warthog, crushes it, and all like Sarge Griff and Simmons. Well, just Sergeant Griff, and they go flying out of the warthog. And Simmons is still fucking hanging on to it for dear life.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And like you said, then the meta starts just like nailing the warthog with grenades.
Yeah.
And it like lights on fire and it's spinning. And Simmons is hanging on for dear life, and he says, "I'm scared to hold on, but I'm scared to let go."
It's awesome.
But the really cool detail is when because Sergeant Griff are on the ground, they got like sent flying out of the car, and then the car is about to like run them over. And Griff like tackles Sarge out of the way, so Griff saves Sarge.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that.
Because there's a lot of really cool little details. I'll probably point them out as we get to them. But like, I like that they're not just using animation; they're also like paying attention to little things.
Yeah. And when they get kind of out of this, once they all kind of land, they did a cool little thing too, like. Simmons, everyone else had their guns, but Simmons clearly didn't have a gun. He was all, like, loopy and everything like that. He had, like, a stick or whatever. And there was clearly a stick, not like in Yellow Jackets, we didn't know what that was. So...
Yeah, where it's like, it's actually not, oh my god, that fucking scene, Jesus.
Yeah. And, I like that Simmons doing all this, like, he's so out of it, like, he's, like, swinging, like, the stick around type of thing. I think he actually thought he had a gun, too. I don't even think he realized he had, like, a stick, because he, like, aimed it at, like, the meta, like, ready to shoot it and everything like that.
Yeah. And I like what Sarge says, where he's like, "All right, guys, come on, he can't kill all of us." And Griff is like, "Why can't he kill all of us?"
Because he really could if he wanted to, type of thing.
Oh, easily. Oh, yeah, well, I'm like, no, Church came in at the perfect time, because they were all going to be fucking dead. Yeah. That's why I was saying Sarge's plan worked pretty well up until a certain point, and this is that certain point.
So then Church/Epsilon shows up.
Sorry, real quick, I just wanted to say, because this is like the first animated fight.
Sure.
Freelancers, like, we're always hyped up as these like super soldiers, like they're way better than the average guys, and I feel like previous seasons had a hard time conveying that, because like everyone's limited to the machinima. But now that we have like actual like Rooster Teeth is making their own animations and like their own fight scenes, we really get to see like just how like powerful like these freelancers are. Because the meta just fucking stomped on the warthog and destroyed it. As we said, Washington gets blown up and he survives.
Yeah.
And later on, we're going to see we get another freelancer who we're familiar with, and they are insanely broken.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked, but I liked seeing the first style of the animation. The animation looked really good.
Yeah. I like it was sudden too. Like there was like little warning for it. It kind of just like happens. Like Griff comes out of the wall with the warthog. Like it was a big surprise.
Yeah, it was really cool. Well, it wasn't for me because I watched the trailer, so like
Yeah, you already knew it was coming. I think I told you like season 8 was when they started doing like their own animations.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Church/Epsilon shows up, and he just kind of shows up and has a natural like conversation with these people as if like they want like fighting for their lives and everything like that.
Yeah.
And
he even says like, "Wow, your Jeep got fucked up."
Yeah. And I guess like this is a cool little detail I didn't really pick up the first time. Like when he sees the meta, like Church doesn't know who the meta is, and I'm like, I was actually yelling at the TV the first time I watched. Like, you fought him the last, and then I was like, oh wait, you didn't fight him the last season. So
yeah, that was Alpha. Yeah.
Doing all of this, Epsilon, is flying over the meta, and the meta's trying to get, And I didn't really catch this till the third time. They don't even realize like what this floating thing is, like both the meta and like Wash. They just think it's like
I think Meta kind of figured it was an AI because he starts like becoming obsessed with it and he like starts ignoring the Reds.
That's true. I guess it was more of a Wash then. So
Yeah.
The meta starts chasing after Epsilon, and the meta's doing a pretty good job, like avoiding not the meta. Epsilon's doing a pretty good job avoiding the meta. But then he notices like a base, not really a base, but like it's like where they broke through and everything like that. And he kind of noticed.
Yeah.
He kind of starts to have that like vision again. And I like that they did kind of nice little comedy bit because he's like trying to figure out what it was, and then. No, it was a base actually, because then the meta shows up and he's like, "Oh, gotta get out of here!" Like he kind of like goes back to doing what he was doing. So
yeah, he's like, "Oh shit, dude, you scared the crap out of me." Yeah.
And then.
But I think the reason you were thinking of the hole is because that's where the Reds go through, like the hole that Griff made.
Well, I remember that scene's like right afterwards, so like
yeah,
it's very quick too that happens. So, and then they go through the where they ended up breaking through and everything, that wall, and they're pretty much, they can't outrun the meta or Wash, and the vehicle's destroyed, so they're pretty much in a no-win situation here. And
I like how because Church doesn't know like what's going on really, he comes back to the Reds. It's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And they're like, "Oh shit, if you're here, the meta's right behind you."
Yeah. So earlier in the season, I think you missed this originally. They were trying to figure out like the source about why Church can do this laser, but like he can't really just do it on his own. He can, he has to. Like,
he got like really mad when CT called him a thing.
Yeah. So they were kind of trying to figure out how to get like Church mad. I thought the bit earlier was funny because they were just all they did was just make Church like depressed. So they were making like jokes about like. Do different emotions, make the laser like different type of thing. So I thought that was funny.
Oh yeah, and I like what Caboose is like. I hope we don't find out what makes a brown laser.
Yeah. So then,
but yeah, Griff gets the idea to like start insulting him, and Sarge starts insulting him too. And I like what Simmons does.
Well, I also like too that Simmons doesn't even really, because it makes sense. Simmons doesn't really know what's like going on, obviously because
that's what I was saying. So because Simmons has no fucking clue what this thing is. He doesn't even know it's Church or that it can shoot a laser.
Yeah. And
they say like, "Come on, Simmons, start insulting." And so Simmons starts insulting Griff and Sarge because he didn't know what they meant.
Yeah. And
Sarge was like, "Simmons, don't insult us, insult it."
Yeah.
And Simmons is like, "I don't understand the rules of your game. I just got here."
So I like
that he literally says, "I just got here. I don't know what's happening."
Yeah, I do think Red RVB does that very well. Like, they'll make sure a character is like kind of completely out of the loop when they weren't at like that plot type of thing.
Yeah, I think you pointed out off camera. It was cool that like Lopez knew what the meta was.
Yeah.
Even though he hadn't seen the meta, but Donut didn't know because he was in a coma. So like they obviously explained it to Lopez while Donut was out of commission.
But then here. They see that the meta's coming, and then, and I like that Epsilon's the one that's pointing this out, because then Epsilon sees Washington, and obviously Epsilon gets pissed once he sees Washington, because, if you remember, a big thing in Season 6, and they talked about in Recovery 1, is an AI went crazy and killed itself. That AI was Epsilon, so Epsilon remembered, what happened when he went inside Washington, so he got pissed when he saw Washington. So the Epsilon, he gets angry and shoots the laser, and this causes like, the rest of like the bits and the rest of the carnage of the water like fall over, so that way like, they can't really like enter it anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously the Washington and the meta are kind of pissed because now they can't really get to the Reds and like get Epsilon for the rest. They're pissed because they're out of commission now for like the rest of the season, pretty much.
Oh yeah. They're like, "Fuck, we're not gonna do anything until like the end of the season now."
Yeah. So remember like we're gonna talk about when Doc and Wash have the conversation about how they never get like time off. Wash got a lot of time off this season. So
I know, right? This was his fucking vacation, the desert getaway. But
it's
funny, Jimmy Neutron. It's funny you brought up Jimmy Neutron because they had a whole episode about that where they skip school to go hang out in the desert.
That's what Wash does. So
yeah, pretty much.
But doing all this, Epsilon starts like freaking out because he had like a memo. He had like a repressed memory. He's like, no, wait, I gotta save her type of thing. I gotta get back to her. We don't really know what Epsilon's talking about at this point. But then he like, I do like that like he realizes this. Because if you look at this, he could have just flown over the wall and, like, come back. But, like, I guess before you realize he could have done that, he, like, shuts down. So I do like that they had him shut down. Because that would have been kind of weird if, like, all of a sudden he just didn't... Because if he didn't shut down, I feel like I would have been complaining about it more. But I think because he shut down, because I think it seems like the laser, like, took a lot of his powers and everything like that. So that caused him to shut down and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the laser, and also I think just, like, we're going to find out in a little bit, like, seeing Washington... like caused a lot of stuff, like a lot of his memories to come back. Mm-hmm. So I think, and like as that character says, like that's a lot for Epsilon. Like a lot of those memories were not good. So I think that's also what caused Epsilon to like shut down.
Yeah, but I really liked this opening scene here. It's probably maybe other than the end, like my favorite thing that happens in season 8. Just because well, I said other than the end, so
yeah.
But I really like it a lot, it was kind of cool to see. My favorite thing, obviously, was the Epsilon thing. I thought that made a lot of sense for him to freak out when he saw Washington, because obviously it's a bad memory for Washington, but I guess you don't really think about it in Epsilon's case, because, we've only seen Wash's point of view. In Epsilon's case, he killed... Well, we found out he didn't... I guess he killed himself, but, like, He,
like, tried to kill himself, yeah.
So, like, it's kind of cool that, like, he would have that bad memory, like, at the same time, type of thing.
Yeah, you're right. It is cool because we've mainly got it from Wash's point of view. But yeah, now it's cool seeing it. Like, it also, like, traumatized Epsilon.
And then before, like, they cut away, Wash and, like, the Meta are kind of wondering, like, how the hell are we going to catch up to him now? So he's like, oh, don't worry. I know we can get information. Which is kind of weird. I don't know why Wash went to Doc, though, because from Wash's point of view, he didn't really even know until, like, they talked that they even knew each other. So, I don't know, like...
Yeah, well, I guess, he's like, okay, Doc knows them, so, because one of the first questions he asks is like, okay, do they have any, like, bases or, like, places they would go to, like, hide?
I guess I'm just talking about from my point of view, because obviously Doc hasn't been here this whole season, so, like, he's not going to know.
Yeah, true. I guess, from Wash's point of view, like, they're buddies, and, like, Doc would, like, know them and, like, where they would hide out.
Yeah.
But, well, it's funny, because, yeah, like you said, obviously Doc doesn't know, really, so, like, yeah, Wash was going to be shit out of luck, pretty much.
We'll talk about when we get there. I don't forget, but like, it's kind of weird how they even get to the desert then, because obviously Doc gave him the information somehow. So I'll have to like see if it comes back to me. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, but yeah. So basically, while Washington and the Meta are going to go back to the base they captured and interrogate Doc, the Reds, alongside Church, who was shut down, went back to the desert. And I like how Simmons is even like, why did we come here? And Griff is like, I don't know, it's where we were before, so we just came back here.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
And I mean, and Griff does make a good point of like, where else are we going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get back, and as we said before, Caboose is like up on that big pillar, and like all the aliens are trying to kill Caboose because, they're pissed off Church left. Mm-hmm. And Sarge shows up and he's like, hey, do you guys have another warthog? Ours got trashed, like, again. These motherfuckers go through warthogs constantly.
I think one gets trashed every season. Except the first
Yeah, honestly.
Except the first season. I don't think it got trashed the first season.
Listen, Lopez was probably like, sweet death. I don't have to keep repairing these fucking Jeeps. Well, they even did a joke about that last season where, he's like, if you idiots constantly destroy your vehicle, so I'm going to make spares.
They don't have Lopez anymore, so...
I know, right? And I like how Sarge is like, so what are you guys doing? Killing Caboose? That's cool. Yeah, and Caboose is like, look, that's the guy who took Church. Get him.
Yep, I like that.
So Sarge is like, fuck, these aliens want to kill me now, so I'm gonna have to show them Church, or like I'm gonna have to show them we don't have Church.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, on the other side of like the camp, or like the fortress, Simmons and Griff are trying to get Church back online. I do like the line where, obviously before Simmons didn't know what this ball was, and obviously now he knows it's Church. And Griff is like, is he dead? Like, and Simmons is like, I don't know, but even if he was dead, would it matter for this guy? Because he's always coming back to life.
Yeah, that's
so.
True.
I do like that.
And that's a bit. What? That's a pretty recurrent thing for RVB characters. When they're dead, they'll just come back to life. So
Yeah, I know. So I kind of like if they're gonna do that. I like that the characters are acknowledging it.
yeah,
Again, I feel like they do it a little too much. But at least they'll like acknowledge it and like make a joke out of it.
yeah, definitely.
I think Church is like the one I'm most okay with because he hasn't really like actually died. Well, aside from Alpha, but like he hasn't actually died before.
Right.
They just like they just thought he was a ghost.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, they were trying to get Epsilon back online, but they hear Sarge around the corner with the aliens, and as soon as Epsilon comes back online, he's like trying to be like, "Oh, what happened? Where am I?" And Griff is being like, "Dude, shut up."
Yeah.
Because the alien, he doesn't want the aliens to realize they like took Church.
I like to like Sarge is trying to signal to them that he has aliens, so he's trying to get them to like get rid of like Church, but like they don't really get what he's saying like before like Church comes back online and everything like that.
Well, Simmons especially because he has no clue what's going on. He doesn't know about the aliens. But yeah, once Griff pieces it together, he's like, "Oh shit, the aliens are pissed."
Yeah.
And then he fucking I love it when he they like you said, they do a good job like blending the two animation styles. Because Simmons is still in like the usual style, but then Griff is like in the original animation. And then
Simmons, by the way, he was stuck in the original animation, like the whole like anytime they wanted to like switch like
whenever they like do it, he's like he gets left out. Well, poor Simmons. Pretty soon he'll be in the original animation. He's gonna get his fucking ass kicked.
Yeah.
Griff goes to kick Church, and I like how Church even realizes what's gonna happen. He's like, "No, don't you do it, you fucker!"
Yeah.
And he goes flying. Man, Griff should join a fucking kickball team. He fucking sent them flying.
Yeah, like he was. I think he was. We find out he goes to like the minefield, and that's pretty far away to like because they took like vehicles and stuff to get to even where they were, like like at the base and everything like that or whatever. So,
yeah. Yeah. So and I like how Tucker and Caboose are like, see, they have Church. Oh wait, no, Church is gone. Shit. Mm-hmm. And then the Red get over to where Church is, and Caboose also books it. So Tucker realizes the aliens are pissed at him now. He's like, "All right, I'll go on the rock."
I like that. Yeah.
So I do like how Tucker has like no fucking clue what's happening for the next like couple scenes, and Tucker ends up leaving last.
Yeah.
Because they all leave separately.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Reds go over to where Church landed, and they realize he's in the minefield. Well, Griff and Sarge realize it, but Simmons, because again he wasn't here before, he's like, "Okay, let's go get him." And they're like, "You go get him." And for once, Caboose was the smart one, because Caboose shows up shortly after, and he's like, "Oh no, he landed in the middle of the. He landed over there. Hey Simmons, why don't you go do it?"
Yeah, Steven sent like Simmons in there. Yeah.
Yeah, like he realizes like, oh, Simmons doesn't know. Okay, he can go do it.
Yeah.
And then immediately Simmons fucking lands on a bomb, and he's like, "You guys knew, didn't you?" And they're like, "Maybe."
I like it because it's when the screen like went black was when he says that too.
Yeah,
which is good because I wouldn't have seen that if I watched this when it was still on Netflix.
Because they would cut that shit. Yeah, which was so annoying. But yeah, they end up getting Church out of the minefield somehow off screen. And then when Epsilon wakes back up, it's not Epsilon, it's Delta, or like Epsilon's memory of Delta.
And I liked before this, like, they noticed it because, like, when he was coming online, it's like, wait, why is he green? They were like, wait, why is he green now? So, like, I like that they kind of picked up on it, too.
I do like that. And so Delta's explaining that seeing Washington again has caused Epsilon to remember a lot of the things he repressed, which is cool, because I remember coming back to the season, I was like, it's kind of weird he starts, like, acting like Church again, like, so soon. But I think this is why, like, seeing Washington made him remember a lot of the stuff he forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he explains, okay, Epsilon's like looking around in his like new memories for something, and this might not be a good thing because Epsilon hasn't responded well to these memories before. Obviously, talking about how he tried to kill himself a lot when he was inside Washington.
Yeah, and I like how he's mainly talking to Caboose because Caboose has spent a lot of time with Epsilon, so like he kind of figures Caboose.
Well, yeah, because Griff is like asking questions, and then Delta is like, "Oh yeah, me and the other fragments are inside of Epsilon," and Griff is like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Well, like the way he says it was funny. He's like, "What the fuck is that? Who the fuck are you? What the fuck are you talking?"
Yeah, I like that.
They do a good job of like wording things in the show. Like they do a good job with like the comedic timing. But yeah, Delta is about to disappear or like go back inside of Epsilon, and he laments that he says, that he wishes he was the memory that Epsilon was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously, as we find out later, the memory he was looking for was Tex.
Yeah, I liked that.
We kind of already figured that because he was seeing those visions of Tex.
Yeah.
But yeah, Epsilon wakes back up and he seems calm, or like he seems very focused on something. He asks Caboose to like speak with him in private, and he says that he remembered something. There's a facility nearby that he wants to go see. And because Caboose was able to take him from the Epsilon unit into this like new body, he wants to see if he can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Caboose is like just down for it. Like Church is like, are you sure you don't have any questions? Like this could be dangerous. And Caboose is like, yeah, I'm cool with it.
Especially too because he was just warned to like not do this by like Delta, and he just completely ignored Delta, which I think is pretty funny. Like to like
yeah, I do like that. And then Caboose asks like, hey, should we bring the Epsilon unit? And Church is like, do we need it? And Caboose is like, no, I don't think so. And he's like, okay, cool, then leave it. I don't give a shit about it. I do like Church sounded a little pissed off about it because, like, he's been trapped in it for a while, so he's probably like, okay, good, I'm glad to be rid of that thing.
Yeah, and he's probably been...
It ended up being a mistake, though, that they just left it there.
Yeah, because it causes the end of the season, pretty much, so...
Yeah.
But I like that, I kind of like that Church really didn't want to go back to the Epsilon unit because he was like... To him, he was probably held, like, prisoner there, so, like, he wants to be rid of prison, pretty much, and everything like that.
Yeah. Which, it's fucked up, because, he ends up going back there at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But on a slightly happier note, at least. But yeah, Caboose and Church leave for this facility that Church has found out about. And the Reds were spying on them. And they're like, oh, hey, well, I like how Sarge is like, okay, this is an opportunity for us to go put the Blues back in the database. Because remember, that was their whole thing in season 7.
Yeah.
Is they want to kill the Blues, but like it won't matter. Like no one knows they killed the Blues. So like, okay, we got to put the Blues back in the system. Then we can kill them.
I mean, that's the whole reason they go on this mission. So.
Right. Well, again, it's still funny because they're the fucking ones who deleted them in the first place.
Yeah, and now they don't even realize like, they have to put him back. Again, because they needed that for season 7 for Wash's heel turn, pretty much. So,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's like the only reason all this shit happened. Yeah. And I do like Griff as being a little more practical. He's like, hey, at the very least, we can wherever we're going, we can use it to like lie low for a little while.
Yeah, because they're being chased.
Because like Griff was saying, like they don't really have anywhere else to go to hide from Wash in the meadow.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to stick around in the desert. So like, okay, at the very least, wherever we're going, we can lie low for a little while.
And it was gonna work, as we've had to find out.
Yeah, for real. Like fucking Wash in the meadow just fucking lived in the desert forever, pretty much.
Wash would have gotten that vacation that he was looking for. So.
Yeah, I know, right? And they're like, okay, we're gonna repair one of the Jeeps and follow them. And Simmons is like, they're leaving on foot. Why don't we just like follow them on foot? And Sarge says, Simmons, we're the red team. We only take like the most badass vehicles we can find. Or if we don't have a vehicle, we find the nearest animal, beat the shit out of it, and saddle it up like a horse.
This is very true.
Yeah. Also, I missed it earlier, but when Caboose and Church went to go talk, I like Simmons made a joke of like, hey guys, you ever know this blue team has a lot more going on than us?
Which I thought was even funnier because like last season was all them, and the beginning of this season was all like the Reds.
The first quarter of this season was all the Reds doing the heavy lifting,
and
even later on, I feel like the Reds are doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So honestly, I mean, like if they were talking like the first 5 seasons, sure, but like it feels like the last or the first 6 seasons, but the last season and a half, it's been fucking Red Team MVPs.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, they leave. Tucker notices that everyone's left. And then, because obviously aliens are still trying to kill Tucker. And Tucker's trying to be like, hey guys, look, they took Church. Go fuck with them. But when they realize that's not going to work, they're just out for blood. Tucker says, guys, look, a new gen smartphone. And they all turn to look.
That was funny.
Yeah. So Tucker tries to ride off on his motorcycle that he had last season, but Tucker realizes it's out of gas, so he's like, "Fuck it, I just gotta run now."
What I thought was funny about Tucker's joke he made about the phone thing too is this is made in like 2010. Phones have advanced now so much since then. So,
Well, that's why I was saying I'm glad he didn't say like the iPhone 5 or whatever. Like he just said like the next gen smartphone.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even being specific.
so that was good.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah. They all end up. They're all going separately, but they all end up going to the Project Freelancer storage facility. And again, I like it. You know, Church and Caboose go there first, then the Reds follow shortly after, and then Tucker shows up last.
I thought that made sense. I liked that. Because I feel like too, because Church was the one that needed to go there, so it'd be kind of weird if like, as we're gonna find out too, Church kind of had to show up first, by the way, too. So, but like I do kind of like it, because it was Church's mission. Like they arrived first, and then like, the Reds kind of do their thing, and then we never see Tucker.
Well, like I was saying, I like how Tucker has no fucking clue what's happening. He's just like, fuck it, they're going that way, I'm going this way.
He just wants to he wants to get away from the aliens, He doesn't want a repeat of what happened that caused him to give birth to Junior.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get fucking pregnant again. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's pretty much a B plot going on this season that is super disconnected. So Owen's just going to talk about all of it now.
Yeah. So doing all this back in Valhalla, Washington and the Meta are trying to get answers from Doc about like where the Reds are, and before they can really do this though, Doc's still trapped in the wall. So Wash doesn't really want to deal with him this way. So like he wants to like get him out of there, so that way he can like question him better, I guess, and all that type of stuff. But then the Meta's like trying to pull out Doc, and I thought this was cool, because Doc, like I said, he was the whole time. Anytime you saw him in this wall, he was in like the new animation, and like the Meta's trying to pull him out. He was in the new animation, and Wash was in like the old animation. Poor Wash, he didn't really get to be in the new animation really that much. So
yeah, I know, like at the very end, pretty much, yeah. But like, and he got his ass kicked.
And like he couldn't even do it. He couldn't join into it like the end either. So
yeah,
because he was out of commission. So.
Mm-hmm.
But so then they can't get him out pretty much, like they're trying to pull at him, and it's kind of that bit anytime you see like two characters tied up, they'll try to get out of it but they never can, or like they'll get glued to a chair. This is kind of what this scene was right here with Doc, and so the Meta comes up with an idea. He goes to the Warthog, and he uses a crane, and he's gonna see if he can like connect it to Doc and like pull him out that way, type of thing. I did kind of like this too, because obviously this was set up for later, so I like that they did it here, type of thing. And this doesn't work. What ends up happening is instead he just breaks off like part of the meadow and falls, and like Doc is still like there, like, so he falls like face first. Doc got fucked up this season, by the way. Like,
oh yeah, poor Doc. Yeah.
And doing all this, eventually they just realize, fuck it, like, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Washington and the Meta are trying to, they're playing a bad version of good cop, bad cop, where, like, I think Washington was, like, bad cop, and, like, Meta was, like, worse cop or whatever, because, and I like that Doc mentions that, too, type of thing, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to figure out where they went, and Washington threatens to just kill him and, like, rip out his radio so that way he could see, like, who he's been contacted and everything like that. And this is how he remembers, like, where they are. So he mentions that there was, like, a radio call that he got about something about the sand, which, makes sense because that's what Tucker radioed into, like, command, like, back in season 6. So, so this kind of causes, Washington to piece together they're probably at the desert. Wash is going to go on his nice little vacation until, like, the end of the season. He goes to the...
Yeah, he's literally just in the desert for fucking the whole season, yeah.
I didn't catch this until the third time, but I guess he wasn't specifically looking for the Blues, though. When he gets to the desert, he's still looking for specifically Epsilon, so I did kind of like at least he wasn't looking for them originally, type of thing, so that was good.
Yeah, well, they were looking for the red. He was following the Reds trail, and the Absalom was with the Reds, so that's why.
Right, but I'm just saying, when I saw this the first time, I thought they were just looking for the, because Epsilon was with. I didn't realize that like Washington didn't realize like Epsilon was in that thing until the Epsilon unit got like pulled out. I thought the whole time he was looking for like them. So. This is still dumb, by the way, that he was in the desert though the whole season though.
Well, as I was saying, it's dumb that they're like this plot is so disconnected. Washington in the meta fight the Reds at Valhalla, which is like a quarter through the season, and then they end up like there's another big fight like in the last quarter. And season 6 did a really good job of like having them interact with the meta multiple times throughout the season.
Right.
Even previous seasons, season 3 did a pretty good job of like Omega. They interacted with him quite a bit.
I feel like too you would think they would do it even more in season 8, like at least have them interact a few times if you have this new animation now. Well,
right.
They went,
and especially because like Washington's heel turn was built up so much. Like at the end of season 7, we're like, oh, this makes perfect sense that why Washington has become a villain now, and like we don't even really get to enjoy him being a villain.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on that. Like his heel turn was as great as it was. His actual moment as a heel was like not really the greatest, just because he didn't really fight.
At least his like dynamic with the meta was kind of fun. Like the way they kind of like banter with each other, and like they clearly don't like working with each other.
But I would have liked it if like he would have fought the Blues, or like fought the Reds a few times, like once at the desert maybe. Once in that unit. I know, because the way they find him, it is pretty cool, but it kind of makes Washington look stupid a little bit, because like we said, Wash would have just stayed in the desert for the rest of his life, if Tex didn't do what she did later on. So I wouldn't mind if Tex did what she did. But...
Like it really doesn't feel like a threat, it really doesn't feel like they're being pursued by Washington in the meta, because like you said, they probably would have never found him.
They don't even talk about Wash in the meta like at all when they go to this facility. It's all about like the director and all about like you kind of forget they're being hunted. You kind of forget the beat. Like honestly, if this B plot didn't happen, you wouldn't have even know they were being hunted by like the meta or Wash. Like that's how,
exactly. Which is unfortunate because, like we said, Washington is probably like the best character in the show, and like this is his season as like the main villain, and he interacts with them so little. I think it would have been cool if, like you said, they we got the fight in Valhalla. If like he somehow was able to track them to the base, they go to. They had a fight there, and then they all leave to like the the snow place, and then Tex does what she does. Yeah. Because this feels too disconnected, and like we said, it makes Washington seem dumb.
Right. But yeah, so doing all this, he the meta has the meta's like pulling Doc too, because he's still trapped in that wall, and
which is a really I love that they keep this joke going for a while,
but then not too long. Like I think it stops at a good point. So
it stops like halfway through, but I'm glad it wasn't just like a one-off.
And then he has the meta like dig, and again I like that they're fighting back and forth, because like the meta's kind of feeling like he's doing all the work, but Doc's like, hey, I'm the one that got like the recovery beacon or whatever to like come here type of thing. You find out how he gets that, which is kind of weird. Why didn't his recovery beacon go off? Because we find out it should have got, because we find out he still has it, but it should have gone off. And I guess because like it's kind of weird that he didn't go off already. If you would think, because
I guess they didn't know it was like related. Because they
that's true.
I think Washington says something of like they were following like the Reds trail.
That's true. But at anyhow,
so there's a recovery beacon at the desert, and like the Reds were like going in this direction.
That's
true.
And
Washington does say like that signal was like super faint.
Oh, that's true. Probably because they were buried under he was buried under sand.
Right, buried under sand. Yeah.
But yeah, so
guys. It was CT that was under the sand. Remember, like, that was a big thing? Tucker was saying it's under the sand.
Yeah, it was CT.
The important thing under the sand, it was CT.
Nope. No, it wasn't.
No, he sucks.
Well...
Literally, like, they fucking forget about him, too. Like we get a little moment here with CT, and, like, it's immediately forgotten about him.
Yeah. So, yeah, the meta and Washington are bickering a little bit. The meta digs though and tries to find like the Epsilon unit, and I like this because like doing this like Doc and Wash are bickering a little bit, and like Doc is just like, can I have a drink of water? And Wash is like, I asked you about that before we left. And I get Doc's response like, yeah, but now we're in the freaking desert. Like obviously I'm gonna need a drink, dude. Like
yeah, that's funny. And I like how the meta is like digging up all the dirt. Doc starts sinking, and Washington is just like, I hate you.
So great. I will say the saving grace is the back and forth between like them bickering is the saving grace of the plot.
Oh, and like I pointed out off camera, it's cool because obviously the meta was the villain of season 6. Now Wash is a villain, and Doc was like the villain of the Blood Gulch Chronicles when he had Omega in him.
Yeah, so that's cool. That all the
so it is kind of funny, just like the 3 villains fucking hanging out.
Yeah. So yeah, we see.
And, in the notes I said it's like their Buddy Cop spinoff.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it is.
Pretty much. So yeah, we see the meta dug up, and we find out that it's CT that's buried under there. I think did Wash screw up here, like his voice actor, because he kept. I've watched this a few times. Was CT because he says she?
That's important, Owen. So yeah, CT obviously was a dude last season. And, because he said it a few times, and that was important. So, well, one, we didn't know CT was a freelancer.
Yes.
And now Washington is saying, because the meta is, like, all excited, and then Washington says, no, don't bother. She never got an AI.
What happened?
So, it's a mystery there of obviously, so, okay, CT's a freelancer, but the one Washington and meta knew was a girl. So, who is this dude, and why was he calling himself CT?
I still don't care about it though. CT sucks.
Oh, okay then. Never mind. But yeah, that's a mystery about CT. That CT was a girl and a freelancer, and now it's a dude.
So I'm gonna guess like whoever this guy was. I don't really think it's that big of a mystery because they did mention that like the other people that were like there originally got like. So I'm gonna guess whoever this person is like took CT's like uniform and like posed as CT.
I don't know.
He still sucks though. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, CT does suck.
I like how you
hyped it. Said, yeah, I know. I hyped it up as like, oh, it's a mystery, but I'm like, they immediately forget about it and they never talk, and they don't talk about it for the rest of the season.
Well, I just like to you hyped it up as a big mystery, and I just like I still don't give a shit, dude. Like CT sucks. Like it's like
yeah.
Watch, I'm gonna find out this isn't CT, but we've been insulting like the one CT, and we have to be like, oh, this CT actually sucks. So, yeah.
But yeah, CT does suck. I ain't gonna argue with you on that.
I thought that was like a continuity error, honestly, when he said that. I was like, wait, well, he was a dude last
No,
time.
no, that was supposed to make you do like a double take. I'm like, what? Why did Washington say CT's a girl?
To be honest, the first time I watched this, I didn't really care because I was just like, I don't give a shit about CT. So like, whatever. He could be whatever he wants to be. He could be a dude. He could be a girl. He's still gonna suck. It's that quote that Church said, like, no matter what, I'm still gonna hate. No matter what CT is, I'm gonna hate. He still sucks. I hate him anyways. So
yeah, I love that. But yeah. By the way, CT stood for Connecticut. That's not really a spoiler, but yeah, now that we know he's a freelancer, he was Agent Connecticut.
He still sucks.
He's still. Sorry, Connecticut. You seem like a nice freelancer. Sucks.
I like how you're giving me all this information about like CT, like actually like.
And you're just like, I don't give a flying fuck.
He sucks, like Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. CT easily sucks. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they're doing anything with CT because like he really did seem like such a one-off villain, and I'm kind of like, oh, they're actually like doing something with him. That's interesting.
And he's
not even her,
Well, it might not be the original CT. We don't know. Like, it's a mystery.
Yeah, it's a mystery, and none of the other characters give a shit for the rest of the season.
I mean, he/she sucks so much. Like I said, at the end of season 7, when he dies, I thought it was just some random background. Like, dude.
Yeah, you thought it was a random guy. You didn't realize it was the fucking villain of the season. Yeah. And it's funny. I like how I was saying, like, oh, all the villains are hanging out. Doc from the Blood Gulch, the Meta from season 6, Washington from this season, all the villains, and then like CT, his corpse is there. He's not invited to the villain club.
I mean, we made this joke off camera, by the way, but like, remember, like we hyped it up, like everything that like happened with everything that's happened in the RVB has been because of the director. I like to think that CT is the outlier. Like CT just sucks on his own, and the director doesn't want to take credit.
Yeah, he's the only one. Yeah.
Remember, like you told me in the Star Wars video that like the creator of Star Wars, when he made the Star Wars Christmas, he said he wants to like burn every copy. I like to think the director wants to like delete CT out of the databases. Be like, yeah, I don't want to take credit for this one. Like,
I would love that. Of like Phyllis notices, there's another file missing in my database. It's for this guy called CT. That's really weird.
yeah.
I would love that.
But anyhow, so
Yeah.
you know, after they dig up CT, they see like the aliens are like looking at them type of thing, and they're like, well, guess we're gonna have to deal with this now. But when it comes back to this, you know, we see like them about to, like throwing grenades at what we think are the aliens, but we find out that it's not the aliens. It's Doc. Basically they did this so that way they could get him out of the wall. I guess they didn't care if he died or not, because obviously they were just like, fuck it. Like, I think for Wash, it was probably killing two birds with one stone. If they got him out of the wall, cool. If he died, that's awesome. Like, he would have been like, that's awesome.
Well, in a little bit, he's gonna be like, Doc, I thought you died. And Doc is like, no, I'm alive, don't worry. And Washington is like, I didn't say I was worried.
Yeah, so I don't really...
I just like how Washington and Doc just like have to work with each other and they aren't happy about it.
Yeah. So then, you know, Washington comes up with the idea that they're just gonna like kill the aliens, and like whoever the surviving like one is, they're just gonna give them information. But Doc comes up with the idea with a different plan. So when it comes back to this, that's kind of the thing that sucks about like these. When they come back to it, it's like so quick you don't even really notice it. Like, you know.
Yeah, these scenes are super short. I do like so basically Doc says like his alien's a little rusty, but he's convinced the aliens to draw them a map of where the Reds went. And I do like the callback Doc makes it of it. He says, yeah, I was thinking about getting us a translator ball, but there's enough jerks around here already. Because if you remember, Andy was like their translator.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I do like Doc mentioned Andy. Oh, he stayed dead. Remember, he fucking blew up.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go. We got one character who stayed dead in Red versus Blue. Don't get used to it. Oh, and Alpha Church. He also stays dead.
But yeah, continuing with this, you know, instead the aliens kind of use this to take a jab at the humans and just say that they suck, and they don't spell humans or sucks right. Well, maybe they do. That could be how they spell it. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, I also like they called him a shizno, because remember in season 4 they said that's like the slur aliens call humans.
Oh, okay. This is why it's good to have you here, because again, I haven't seen seasons 3 and 4 since.
Yeah, because I think I told you season 8, like in the audio commentary, they mentioned they tried to do in a lot of callbacks to the previous seasons.
So then, pretty much, Wash is just like, okay, you know what? We tried it their way. We're gonna do it my way. But he like lies to like Doc about like what was actually written there. So I do like that. And then, you know, off screen they just killed all the aliens, I guess, and they didn't. I don't think they meant to kill all the aliens. It just kind of happened that way, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Washington got pissed off and he's like, "Fuck it."
So then,
yeah, honestly, I feel like I don't know. I'm like, of all the things, did this deserve like a full on like, you know, original animation fight? I'm like, nah, this is pretty unimportant. I'm fine with this happening on screen.
This whole thing's unimportant, so like, you know.
Yeah, honestly, which is unfortunate.
And yeah, so I like that Doc kind of like hides by the base, like hid during the fight. So then he like comes back. They kind of do that scene you mentioned, but like, yeah, I'm alive. He's like, I didn't say I was happy about it. So then they see like the temple, or like the entrance to the temple, and he has the Meta go in there to kind of see what's in there, and the Meta stays in there for like a while. Like he's there till like the end of this, the beginning of like the next thing, and then like I don't think he comes back out to like the middle of like the next part of it type of thing. So
yeah, he's like pissed and he's like throwing grenades, like he found something and he's really upset about it.
Yeah,
and I like while this is happening, like we get more Washington and Doc banter,
yeah.
Which is just so fun, you know, because remember Doc has been gone for a while, so it's just I like how we're getting like I didn't know I needed like the Doc and Washington buddy cop, but like now that I got it, I'm like I love this. Like again, it sucks. This whole plot really doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, because
I mean, I'm glad if it's gonna happen. Like I'm glad like it's not like dull. Like I'm glad like the banter is good.
Yeah. So like I like, you know, the bantering about like how Doc's like job is better than his because he gets like a vacation, like a 401k. At first I like how like you know, when Doc is like questioning him because he wants to like take a break, and Washington is just like, yeah, no, we're soldiers. We're supposed to fight like against evil. And then like when Doc like mentioned like, yeah, I get like 4 weeks off or something like that, and Washington like in the middle of his speech like stopped. Is like, wait, you get break? And that's so relatable because like that's how like people talk like in their jobs type of thing. That they'll be like, oh yeah,
I know. I like how Washington's like, really? And then Doc is like, oh, you guys should go on strike. And Washington's like, stop trying to make us unionize. Yeah. And then they like both stop talking for like a couple seconds. And then Doc is like, okay, tell me at least match your 401k.
Yeah. And I think
Doc like can't believe how shitty Washington's job is.
And I like how after this Washington said like shut up, so you know they won't match in his 401k and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I do like around this point, like, you know, because before this Washington was very like to the point. Like he was like whenever Doc tried to like talk or joke around, he would like tell him to shut up.
Yeah.
But I do like Washington like now starting to like banter with Doc a little bit.
I think we talked about this, like, they don't become friends out of this, but they form some sort of, like, bond over this type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I mean, yeah. And then, yeah, so Washington tries to get Doc to, like, calm down the meta. And Doc is like, fuck no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I do like the joke where he's like, hey, why don't you give him a back rub? That wouldn't be gay, right? You know, one freelancer giving another a back rub.
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, the meta throws out like the Epsilon units, and we see that you know, this makes Wash Pete together that you know, the meta wasn't it. Well, not I said the meta wasn't it, but this makes Wash Pete together that it was Epsilon that was inside the big ball thing that like Church has been using as his body. By that point, he wasn't anymore, I think, but we're not there yet. So
I like how Doc like thinks Washington's going crazy.
And
because he saw like a floating ball, and I like how the meta like chimes in. Like obviously the meta can only growl, but like Washington can like understand him, and Washington's like, "Come on, don't lie, you saw it too." Like even the meta's like fucking taking shots at Washington, being like, "No, man, you're crazy. I didn't see anything."
Yeah, and then you know I did like this too because you know this was because Doc wasn't there when Church showed up, so that made sense that like he was kind of bantering him.
Yeah, like you said, I do like how they're pretty consistent on like if a character isn't there, like they won't know about it. You know, like they're like no one caught Doc up to speed, so he doesn't know. You know.
But yeah, this kind of made me realize like, oh, I guess they were just looking for Epsilon. I thought they were like looking for like the reds and blues. I didn't know what they were looking for. So like they, you know.
Well, yeah, that was the thing at the end of season 7 was he was going to hunt down Epsilon.
No, I'm saying like at the desert. I thought he was looking for specifically like the reds and blues. I didn't know what he was.
Okay, yeah.
So like,
yeah, no. What happened was he was following the reds because he assumed the reds had Epsilon.
Yeah. But I thought he was looking for like the reds, you know, because I thought he was looking for a little bit of vengeance too, because they fucked them up pretty bad.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So.
Well, I think that too, because Washington did say the meta wants to repay them for what happened.
Yeah, so I thought that's what they would do.
I think you're not wrong. Like they probably do want to kill the Reds, but like Epsilon's the main goal.
Yeah. But then when they realize that Epsilon isn't in there, like this piece together, so what they come up with is he has the meta like rig up the units, and Washington reveals that because the recovery agents and stuff, they can use their tools to change what the unit is and kind of alter it and everything like that. So now he changes it to a capture unit, and which means that if they kept Epsilon, or as we find out, if any AI gets caught, they're trapped in this unit, and pretty much have no way of getting out. And I like too what Washington says here, like, but at that point I don't care. All he is just evidence, which kind of is good because that makes what the conversation is like later pretty nice. So. Well,
I was gonna say this doesn't quite match up because Washington says like the unit's like really beat up.
Yeah.
Like it might shut down once they capture Epsilon, but like he doesn't care. Like if it shuts down once they have Epsilon, it's not his problem. Like he just has to deliver it to him. He didn't like say what condition it has to be in. But later on, when Epsilon is like, I'm gonna go in there, and Washington's like, no, because if it shuts down while you're in there, they won't believe me that you're in there. So I'm like, well, Washington, earlier you just said you don't care if it shuts down once he's in there. So like that doesn't really match up.
Yeah, so that was that is kind of weird then, but whatever. But yeah, so then they complete this task. So now they have to like find the Reds, and you know, Doc has this idea maybe to like look for footprints, heat-seeking trails, or just do any of that stuff. And like Washington's just calling this out, like thinking this is stupid, and basically calling Doc like a dumbass and everything like that. And Doc gets kind of his feelings get hurt. She's like, you know what, screw this. I'm just gonna go over there. I'm done. Like, I'm done with you.
I like how honestly Doc could probably escape whenever he wants. Like they're doing a really bad job. Like you said, Doc just kind of like walks away.
Yeah.
Like he could have just made a run for it.
I don't know. I guess what Doc was. Where the hell's Doc gonna go? I guess I don't know. So
yeah, true.
So then I do like this because when the second Doc like is within earshot away, he like whispers to like the meta basically Doc's plan, and even the meta's like calling out like Wash of like how dumb this is. It's like, yeah, I know this is stupid, but
yeah.
And then
I do think it's funny Washington can understand the meta because again the meta just like growls.
Yeah. Is that good? I wonder if that's a plot point or if that's just comedy. I'm not sure. So
I think that's just a comedy thing.
Yeah.
Like King of the Hill does a similar thing where this character Boomhauer, like he's really hard to understand, but like everyone understands him perfectly fine. Like that's the joke.
That's funny.
Or an American Dad where Steve has like his like Japanese friend.
Yeah. And then so yeah, then when they come back to this is like the last of this until like the end. Doc comes up and like Wash reveals like they were able to catch like a hidden trail or some type of trail from the Reds, and then I like that Doc is just like, wait, but I thought you said you couldn't do that, and Wash was just like, no, we said we won't do that, and I said you an idiot type of thing. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. He said no, I didn't say we couldn't do that. I said you're an idiot. That's unrelated. And Doc is like, I want credit for the idea, and Wash is like, Doc, do you have anything medical you can tell us? And Doc is like, no, the aliens are still dead. No, nothing really here for me to do. And he's like, hey, by the way, Washington, you know that Stockholm Syndrome thing where people, like, where captives start to they're like kidnappers? And Wash is like, yeah, what about it? And Doc is like, no one has that yet. Basically saying, like, I still don't like you guys.
Which is kind of weird. I've never heard of that before. I would think it always...
Wait, you never heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
I didn't know what it was. I've heard of Stockholm Syndrome, but I didn't even know what it was until I, like, saw this, so, like...
Oh yeah, so Stockholm Syndrome is basically like if you have someone like captive and you like kidnap them, and like like you spend time with them and they start to like you. Yeah. Or like they become humanized. Because that happens. I think what it was named after is this girl got kidnapped by like these like criminals, and the girl ended up like joining the criminal group.
Oh, that's cool actually. That I like that.
Yeah. So that's like essentially what it is. Like you basically like.
Okay, that makes more sense because like, I feel like if you would just like the person, if you just like them instantly for no reason, then that's stupid. But there has to be a reason for Stockholm Syndrome. You can't like I know you can spend a lot of time together, but I think it'd be better. Like it'd be weird if like someone got kidnapped and then like. That'd be like kidnapping somebody and then like, you torture them. Like, I hate to say it, I could just like since we're talking about the same show, it would be like because technically Alpha was a prisoner. It would be like he gets tortured for like months and all of a sudden he just starts liking the director. That would make.
Well, sense. That can't happen too. Like if your mind, because if you're getting tortured, like your mind is so fragile, you'll like cling to anything.
What?
Yeah, no, that's a big thing. Like I'm like okay, this is a whole psychology lesson, but point is Stockholm Syndrome is like a real thing. And like, yeah, if you're like getting tortured by like a kidnapper, like you can in a weird way end up like thinking like you're friends with the kidnapper.
That's stupid. That's dumb. I don't like that.
Dude, listen, it's the human mind, man. I don't fucking know what to tell you.
That's really stupid.
I do like the point is Doc is saying like, hey, you know how like if I had Stockholm Syndrome, like I would like think you guys are my friends. And Washington's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's not the case. I still don't like you guys.
That line doesn't even make sense. I know it's just a joke, but that line doesn't even make sense though because. They haven't done anything. I mean, the only thing that really happened...
Like, you don't necessarily need to torture someone. You just, like, point is, like, they've been spending a lot of time together, and they like, kidnapped them, and Doc is saying, like, hey, like, I still don't like you guys.
But they haven't even spent the whole season together. They haven't even spent the whole season together, so...
Yeah, true. But anyway, I thought it was a funny joke.
It is
I'm going to have to send you fucking articles on Stockholm Syndrome, because I didn't know you didn't know that was a thing.
I'm probably not going to read them, so...
Okay, fair enough.
I'll probably
Yeah.
you know, on Messenger you can like unsend a message. That's probably what I'll do when you send it.
Yeah,
I'm
you'd
not
be like, fuck, I have Stockholm syndrome. I don't care.
gonna,
Owen, if you ever get kidnapped and you start like thinking they're your buddy, you're gonna be like, oh shit, I should have read that article that AJ sent me. Oh well.
But yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it is a weird syndrome. But anyway, after that side note, yeah, like you said, that's pretty much the end of their plot. Really unfortunate.
That was one thing. I feel like why this also doesn't really tie. Why it sucks. This is so. Because then it doesn't really end. It just ends here, and then like you don't see them for like a while. Like it would have been better if like again, you know.
And like you said, it didn't really matter because they just pretty much get when Tex does her thing, they're like, oh shit, okay, now we can go where we need to go. Like they didn't end up finding the Reds on their own, like so it didn't even really matter.
It felt like they just had this scene so they could have the Epsilon unit and do what they did with the Epsilon unit, and then like.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the main thing was they got the Epsilon unit, yeah. But like aside from that, like they could have just been in Valhalla the entire season. It would have been the same difference.
I know, yeah. They should just brought the freaking Epsilon unit with them. So
exactly. Yeah, so definitely a big criticism of this season is like the villain plot line is a lot weaker than previous seasons, which is extra unfortunate because the meta is super cool and Wash is a cool villain, but they don't really play with that as much as they should.
Yeah, they should have had him like we said. Maybe not at the desert. That would have been. I would have been okay. Like the desert scene should have been like cut down like a lot. And I hate to say this, there's a big scene that's gonna happen at the freelancer like fortress. That kind of I think is what causes this scene to get.
What's crazy is the fight that happens at this storage facility is like 10 minutes, and like that's as long as every other fight this season combined.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. So,
I
which is funny. It's like it's a good fight, but like it is the least plot important.
Especially too, I have a lot of criticisms about. Like, I don't hate the fight, but I don't hate the fight, but kind of hate the fight because, like, the fight's good, but like, we lose a lot of what could have made this season great because of that fight. Which is what makes me hate the fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the fight, but I do agree it goes on too long. But anyway, I'm going to talk about that. So essentially, as I said, as you talked about, Doc and Meta and Washington are fucking around in the desert. Caboose and Church end up at this storage facility or like this hidden base, and Phyllis shows up, and I might be thinking, who's Phyllis? It's Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. Was the AI in the tank in the Blood Ghost Chronicles, and this was when I talked about this off camera. This was actually really cool foreshadowing because if you remember. During the 3-parter in season 3, when Church was time traveling, he went back to like before the tank killed him, and Sheila called herself Phyllis, and Church was like, "Oh, that's weird. Don't you call yourself Sheila?" And she was like, "Oh, I can call myself that if you want." So it was like, "Huh? Why was Sheila called Phyllis originally?" And now we find out that it stood for Freelancer Intelligence Security System.
Yep.
Or no. Yeah, Freelancer Intelligence Logistics Security System.
Yeah.
I forgot the L in that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool foreshadowing because I talked with Owen before about like, I wonder how much of like Project Freelancer and like the Alpha AI, like how much of that was like built up in the first 5 seasons.
And
yeah, it's such a small thing too, but like it is cool that they like brought this back. Like, oh, why? Yeah, why was Sheila called Phyllis? Yeah, she was a freelancer. Like support system essentially.
And you've talked about this before, but that's why like when the Reds complain that the Blues get all the good stuff, well, because because Alpha was on the Blues.
The Blues had Alpha, yeah. So it makes sense, yeah. Like Project Freelancer was favoring Blue Team because they didn't want Church to get hurt.
Which happens because of Caboose.
Well, which is funny because they sent the Blues the tank, and the fucking tank ends up killing Church. Yeah.
So that could be a fun what if, like. 2 what ifs there. What if they didn't send the tank, or what if Caboose wasn't assigned to like that blue base or whatever type of thing.
Yeah, because that would change a lot. Yeah. Well, I guess pretty much the show just wouldn't happen essentially.
Yeah, I guess.
Because that like kicks off everything. So basically, just like Project Freelancer wouldn't get shut down, and yeah.
Yeah.
The Reds and Blues wouldn't have gotten into all their hijinks. Um, but yeah, Phyllis is gonna kill Caboose and Church, but once Church starts talking, Phyllis realizes like, oh hey, you're the director. Which, as we talked about off camera again, it's kind of weird because Church and the director don't sound alike. They don't have the same voice actor.
And I remember I've asked you, is that the joke? Do they have the same voice actor? And you're like, no, they don't have the same voice actor. So
No, completely different voices.
yeah.
So yeah, that is weird. Also, Church looks nothing like the director, obviously, because he's a floating ball.
And I wouldn't say anything. I feel like I wouldn't say anything about it because I'm like, okay, whatever. I can look past it. But then later, like, Phyllis plays like one of the director's like diaries, like with his director's voice. So it's like, okay, wait, how did you not notice something? How did you? And like Phyllis still doesn't notice like that's not the director somehow.
Yeah,
Like,
I have no clue. Maybe she reads like brainwaves or something, and like they have the same brain. I don't know. It's very unclear. And I feel like if Phyllis recognized Church as a director here, the Sheila that was in the tank should have recognized Church as the director in Political.
yeah.
So that is weird. But anyway, she lets him into the facility. And she kind of goes over like I do like this joke where she's like, hey, should I run the tutorial program? And Caboose is like, yes, run that. Because if you remember, Caboose turning off the tutorial program is what caused him to murder Church in season 1.
Yeah, so that's cool.
So I do like how Caboose is like, seriously, run the tutorial.
Yeah.
And she gives like when you walk into like a museum or something, like kind of going over like the history of the facility, saying the purpose of Project Freelancer is to ensure humanity's survival in a cruel galaxy, which, as I talked about with Owen, was the main goal of like the director started Project Freelancer to like help humanity when they were fighting the aliens.
Yeah.
But once he started his personal project, it kind of started being more about that than actually like helping humanity.
Which I can't wait to see them get into.
Yeah. But yeah, this base stores a bunch of like equipment, and this is more like a backup facility, like in case like one of their main bases ends up getting destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why like no one's really here. Well, Project Freelancer got shut down, but like why no one was here in the first place, and why it just has a shit ton of equipment.
Right.
And it's cool seeing some of the old equipment, like the teleporters are here, which they had in Blood Cult.
Yeah. And they had some like red and blue like helmets, like we saw like in the corner and all that stuff.
Yeah, and Phyllis notices that she tries to say red and blue, but she says like red and information not found. And she's like, "Oh, okay, my files are corrupted. I guess I can't remember what the other team is. I'll have to get back to that later."
Which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah. And then Church is like not interested. He wants to keep moving, and they get to like a separated part of the facility. And he wants to get in there. And Phyllis is like, are you sure you want someone else coming in with you on your special project? Like, Phyllis is, like, hesitant to, like, let Church in, because so clearly, like, whatever this is like, kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
And, like the director, like, the actual director hasn't let, like, it's his personal thing. Like, he hasn't let anyone else in with him.
Yeah, so I like that.
And it is pretty creepy, because they get in there, and it's just a ton of bodies of Church, like in the blue armor.
Yeah.
So clearly, this is like backups for the Alpha, essentially.
Right.
But Church says, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the other thing. And there was a container separate from everything else. And they're like, okay, this is special. And the Reds show up, and they're outside the facility. And they were going to get in by pretending to be projects by freelancer agents.
But Griff
and the joke is, Griff doesn't know the states.
I think he said like Europe, which is like not even close to a state. So
yeah, and I do like when it cuts back, they're in the facility, and Simmons is pissed off because Griff apparently said he was Agent Pluto.
Yeah, and that's a planet. Well, I guess it isn't. Well, it was then a planet, so
it's a dwarf planet.
Yeah, but I think that was like it wasn't changed then because this is 2010.
Was it? Okay, I don't remember when they changed that.
It was.
But yeah, anyway, the joke they had a planet out of state, and then we found out the only reason they got in is because Sarge just fucking shot Phyllis over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was funny. I'm kind of glad we didn't see that. Like, it's just funnier coming back and Simmons is pissed off.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I think it made sense too that like, if the thing gets destroyed, you still get let in anyways, because obviously you don't want that equipment to just be destroyed type of thing. So
yeah,
you know.
But the Reds follow Church and Caboose till they get to inside the facility, and Caboose is like freaking out, and like behind him, in that like hallway they were in the first place, and we see Church, like we hear Church behind this big metal door, and like whoever's in there with him is like flipping out, destroying shit, and the Reds are like wondering what's happening. Caboose kind of just like walks away. He's like, I'm just gonna go about my day.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked too that Phyllis
and the Reds were like,
Phyllis knew something was going on, so like and like she was like begging for mercy. She's like, I feel like I have to like open this door, and Caboose like, no, do not. So like clearly Caboose did not want this door to be open either. So like whoever was in there like was a big threat.
And I do like it's a reveal because the Reds are like, okay, whatever's in there, we'll ambush it. And Griff is like, can we ambush something that's trying to break through a metal door to come attack us?
Yeah.
And then the door busts open, and I like how we switch to like the original animation, and we see Tex. She's back.
Yep.
Which is cool because we only like heard about her in like season 6. Like we haven't seen her since season 5.
Well,
like it's been
we have seen her in season 6 though.
Well, yeah, for like a brief second. Yeah, you're right. And technically this isn't even the same Tex.
Yeah, I was gonna correct you on that too. So
yeah. And she gets to get a little bit of revenge because the Reds, remember, beat her up in season 1. She gets to get her get back.
No, because it's not the same Tex.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, that is confusing.
Yeah, why did she beat them up? Why did she beat them up then? If like you said it was for revenge, why did she beat them up? If
I think she still remembers Blood Gulch.
I guess.
Because like Epsilon has Alpha's memories, and this text came from Epsilon, so she would remember Blood Gulch.
Oh, that's
still.
true. Yeah, I guess that's true. So.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say they're kind of vague on that. Because Epsilon obviously remembers Blood Gulch, and it's kind of vague on how he remembers Blood Gulch.
Well, they say Caboose told him.
Yeah, and also like I guess he like remember when Alpha was holding Epsilon, he was like getting memory flashes.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people have said that like okay. Like, Epsilon was also getting Alpha's memories.
Right.
So maybe that's also why he remembers Blood Gulch.
Yeah, that could be.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah. But they weren't super clear on that. Anyway. Another cool thing is Tex always comes back into the show on the 10th episode.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Because you probably wouldn't know that because you watch like the season all together. Yeah, and season 1, season 2... season 3, season 4, season 5, and then this season, she always comes back in episode 10.
Wow,
really
Tex
cool.
disappears a lot then. Talk about getting... Wash gets upset, he doesn't get a vacation. It seems like Tex gets a vacation every season.
Tex is always disappearing, yeah. So, she always comes back in the 10th episode, which I think is cool. She just starts chasing down the Reds, and I like how she's like a horror movie villain.
Yeah.
And the Reds are terrified, and Simmons says, maybe we should just fight. I'm scared she's going to start picking us off one by one. And then Tex fucking, like, he's like next to this metal container, busted through the metal container, grabbed him, and just, like, fucking kicked the metal container. And she started beating the shit out of Sergeant Griff.
Mm-hmm.
Simmons runs off. I'm not gonna go through the whole fight one by one, but I'll just say the highlights. Simmons runs off. And like Tucker was like right behind them, and he's confused on what's happening. He says like, "Hey, Tucker, come with me. I need your help." Caboose isn't super involved in this fight. Like he's in like the command center, but he is like trying to give support to the Reds and Blues where he can.
I will say this: because it's a weird take. It felt like Caboose did a lot this season, but then didn't do a lot this season. Like it felt like he did a lot in the sense that like he was a presence, but it also just felt like he was like a background character a lot this season.
Yeah, he wasn't like involved in any like the fights like directly this season, really. Yeah,
but like also like, but he was involved in the plot stuff, but then also wasn't like he did. It felt like he didn't get his own plots really this season. Like he was there as like comedic effect, but like he didn't really do anything this season.
You're right. He was more of like a support background character this season, which I'm kind of fine with because he was kind of driving the plot last season.
And 6 and 6 actually. So.
And 6, yeah, true. So I'm kind of fine with him taking more of a back seat this season.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird. He took a backseat, but also didn't take a backseat in places.
Yeah, they did a good way about it. Like you said, he didn't really have his own storyline, but like he was there. Yeah. And like he was doing stuff, he was talking. Yeah. So Tex is beating the shit out of Griff and Sarge, and I do like this running joke throughout the fight that she keeps punching Griff in the balls.
That was good. Yeah, I like that.
And she's fucking brutal. Like she did like an 8-piece combo on Griff.
Yeah.
And then Tucker throws a grenade at Tex. She ducks it, and he's like, "Hey, sweet cheeks, remember me? Step away from the idiot." And they're like having a little face off, but then Caboose drops a big container in front of Tucker to save him. But then Tucker says, "No, Caboose, you idiot! I'm supposed to distract Simmons."
Yeah.
Because Simmons was behind her, getting ready to shoot her with a rocket launcher.
Yeah. I like that they tried setting up like a plan. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and I like how like uncoordinated they are, because Tucker said that. Tex heard him, turned around, and Simmons is like, "Oh my god, you ratted me out, you son of a bitch!"
Yeah.
And Tex threw the teleporter, and that was a really cool thing where he shot the rocket. It went through the teleporter and like onto the teleporter that was near Simmons, blew him upward, and then he went into the teleporter next to Tex, and she just like chucked him into Tucker. And I like how Tucker was like, "That was awesome."
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
I love the teleporters in this fight. They use them pretty well.
Yeah.
Then they all kind of like get up off the ground. Sarge says, like, "I've never hit a girl in my life." And Simmons says, "Yeah, I noticed. Try harder."
Yeah. Which I like it because usually the joke's the reverse way. So I like that, you know, here it's like, yeah, you gotta have to do this, but then.
Yeah. And like you said earlier with Simmons, like he was like all disoriented and he like grabbed like a stick. I like here Griff is also disoriented and he like grabs a traffic cone.
Yeah.
This was a cool thing. Tex rushes him. She grabs Sarge's shotgun, dodges Simmons' like rocket launcher, and fucking bats Tucker away with the shotgun.
That's a cool thing. It was like the first thing that happened where she tackles Griff and Sarge like through a wall, and they go into like a bunch of like barrels. I thought that was cool. I liked that one.
Yeah, that happened earlier. Yeah. And then she goes to shoot Griff, but it's out of ammo. Well, also I like Griff is like horrified, but because Tex like kicked Simmons into a teleporter, and then you see him like going through the teleporters in the background.
Yeah, that was cool.
Then he comes back into the teleporter like next to Griff and like bumps him into Tex.
That was cool.
And then Tucker is she punches Sarge. All the Reds are on the one side of the facility. Tucker tells Caboose to drop another box onto Tex, and Tucker is like, "Oh shit, it worked!" And then he realizes, "Oh fuck, it didn't work," because Tex fucking grabbed it and chucked it at them. And I like how Phyllis was even like, "Yeah, I knew that wouldn't work." Tex is a badass.
Yeah, I liked that.
And then Tucker slices it in half, but it's because it got sliced in half, it still crushed the Reds behind him.
Mm-hmm. And doing all of this, like Caboose is like trying to stop this fight too, but like Phyllis isn't stopping this fight because this is supposed to be like a simulation type of thing. So like,
yeah. And I like how Caboose was like, "What if he kills her? What if she kills them?" And she's like, "Oh, good. What a good test."
Which shows how fucked up the director was, that he was like killing soldiers doing all of this.
Oh yeah.
His own soldiers too, like not even just like alien soldiers or anything like that.
Yeah, like his own guys. Yeah. Tex ends up kicking Tucker, and they end up getting into a fight. I like how the container they all got hit with was filled with like healing pads, like from the Halo game.
Yeah.
And they make a joke about that where Sarge was like in a pile of them, and he's like, "Oh, what happened? I feel defeated but rejuvenated somehow."
That was actually the thumbnail of like one of the videos you can go watch on YouTube that's been re-uploaded. Is like the barrel like filled with all the healing pads.
Healing pads. She beats the shit out of Tucker, sends him flying into a teleporter. And this is a old callback. Remember, the joke was that like whenever Tucker goes through a teleporter, like his armor gets all black.
Oh, that's how that happened. Okay, because it happened off screen, so I'm like, I don't what happened there. So
I was like, yeah, that was a joke. Tucker goes through a teleporter and his armor gets all black.
He's like, how that happened?
Yeah. Well, even later, he's like, "Damn it, I hate this black stuff. What the hell is it?" Tex tries to stab Tucker with his own sword, but it doesn't work. Yeah, this is another cool callback because remember, Tex wanted Tucker's sword originally,
Yeah.
and she wanted to like beat the shit out of him to steal it from him.
Yeah, that was. And only Tucker can use the sword, anyways, though, right? Isn't that the whole thing?
Yeah, only Tucker. Yeah, that's why. That's like the joke is like Tex tries to use it, and it doesn't work. Like it turns off.
Yeah.
And I like how Tucker says like, "What's the matter, Tex? Having trouble keeping it up?" You know, like obviously making a sex joke.
I would have liked it if, like, she still beat him with it, like, because obviously, like the end part of the sword or what, like the holder or whatever, like she just beat him with that.
But Sarge and Simmons are talking. They're like, "Hey, that rocket launcher you have is an older model, so it's got heat seeking. Like, you should, use the heat seeking to like, get Tex."
Yeah.
So while they're talking, Tucker goes through a teleporter on their end, and he's got a bunch of black stuff on him. And Sarge and Griff think that's Tex. So honestly, this might be my favorite joke of the season, where they're like, "There she is, get her!" and they just bum rush Tucker and start fucking kicking him and punching him while he's on the ground.
Right.
And on the ground, he's on the ground like, "Guys, I'm not Tex. Stop hitting me."
Yeah, that was funny.
He's like, "Guys, I'm a blue, but not the blue you're fighting. Leave me the fuck alone."
And then I like the bit when everyone stops, and then like I think it's like Griff or like Simmons, one of them is telling like Sarge like, "Dude, that's Tucker," and he like takes like one more hit at like Tucker like right after that.
Yeah, and Tucker's like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" He's like, force of habit." Like that's why I'm saying I like the joke of like, "Guys, I'm your enemy, but like not the enemy you're fighting right now."
Yeah.
But Tucker and Griff end up like over the teleporter, and Tex pokes her head through, and you already knew what was gonna happen. She fucking punches Griff right in the balls. They both fall through the teleporter. Tex lands on top of Tucker and starts beating the shit out of him. And I love this joke too, where Simmons is like, "Well, they look the same. Which one do I shoot?" And Tucker's like, "Shoot the one who's winning, dumbass."
Yeah.
But Griff, like clutching his balls in pain, like gets in front of Simmons. And that's kind of what I mean. I love how they're like all getting in each other's way. Like they're all super uncoordinated.
Yeah.
But then Tex lifts Tucker in the air, punches him, and I like how Sarge says, "Wow, she knocked the block right off you." And Tucker says, "That's racist."
I did like that they make that joke. Yeah. I don't think
Well, because it's also a running joke that Tucker might be black, but like no one knows.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that joke. That was another like ongoing joke.
They haven't done that.
That's kind of what sucks is we haven't done previous seasons in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Simmons shoots a rocket launcher, but Tex is fucking cool. She like jumps through a bunch of teleporters to like make the rocket turn around.
That was cool.
And then she decks the three of them, goes under Griff, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, she didn't hit me in the balls again." But she ends up blowing up a bunch of the barrels behind them, and so we get a cool slow-mo shot of like all of them, like as the explosion happens, they all get launched into the air.
Yeah.
And all three of them fall down in the background, but then Tex like slowly pushes like a cement block, and then Griff lands on it. And I like what he says, like, "Why don't you just kill me?"
What I do like too is I like that Tex caught on that she just kept punching. Because I like there was a running joke, but I think what they did here, what made the joke good, was Tex caught on to it. Like, it wasn't just like a running joke just for the audience. Like, Tex caught on to the running joke also, type of thing.
Yeah, she's like, "It's funny kicking Griff in the ball, so I'm going to keep doing it."
Yeah.
But yeah, then she walks away all badass, and then all of a sudden, the body that Church was in hits Tex in the head, and we see Church, he has his old body back. And he says, "Hey, Tex, why don't you pick on someone your own size?" And the next episode starts off immediately with Tex beating the shit out of Church.
Mm-hmm. With his old body.
With his old body. And they make a callback, because remember, Church said Tex beat a guy with his own skull, and he was screaming, "That doesn't seem physically possible."
Which
and then
got me thinking, like, because we talked about this off camera, I'm like, wait a minute. Since Tex is an AI and Church we now know is an AI, I think Church, and you said Church has memories, but he misremembers some of those memories. As we're gonna, I don't think that's exactly what happened.
I told you, like, they do come back to that. We do end up finding out like why Church thought that happened.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I do love it because this fight was this episode with the fight in it is the most viewed episode of Red versus Blue. On YouTube alone, it had like 18 million views. Not to mention, like, their website must have also been a couple million. So
Right.
easily the most viewed episode of Red versus Blue. Like, it had a ton of numbers. So I like, people who like had never seen the show before probably watch this episode.
Yeah.
And like, it ends with Church like picking a fight with Tex, and those people probably thought, "Oh, Church, this guy must be a badass." And then next episode immediately picks up with him getting the shit kicked out of him too.
Right.
And I like how he's like, "Tex, you're embarrassing me. Stop."
But yeah, this I guess I'll talk about this fight a little bit, kind of give my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Although I liked it, I didn't love it like you did. I have some notes. The biggest note again is because this fight goes so long, we lost like Wash and the meta, like what they could have done type of thing. It did kind of feel like this fight they were kind of just trying to show off their animation type of thing. I've mentioned that off camera, and I wouldn't have minded that, but again, you could have just done that. I mean, a lot of the reason I don't like this fight is because of what we could have gotten in this season type of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like if Wash and Meta got more screen time, like this fight wouldn't stand out as much,
Right.
Like as an offense.
And
Because I love this fight.
Yeah.
I think it does a good job balancing like being badass, but also being like funny.
Yeah. There's also things I don't like about this fight too, like and again, I think the things I don't like about this fight is because of the stuff about the there's a lot of times where like the characters are just kind of standing around and doing talking, and again, that could have been we could have got Wash in the meta out of that type of thing.
Yeah, true. They could have cut that down a lot.
I would have.
Yeah, as I said, like all the other fights in the show, like, are still less than this fight in length, combined.
And also too, I wish Tucker did better in the fight than than he did. Like, I feel like he should have gotten a couple. Like he gets a few hits on Tex, but I would have liked it if he because later on Sarge says that he's a good soldier or anything like that. So it would have been cool if he could have at least got didn't have to completely fuck up Tex, but it would have been nice if he could have gotten some good hits in on Tex and everything like that.
Yeah. Also, just a little lopsided because it's 3 reds and 1 blue, and then like Caboose is like kind of helping in the background.
Yeah.
And then Church like gets the shit kicked out of him too, but like it's after the fight's already ended.
I do kind of like that it shows that Church being wit, but it does kind of suck that like Church's big reveal the next episode in, he's kind of being made to look like a bitch. I do think that kind of sucks. Like this was like
yeah, because that's the thing. Church is like the worst fighter out of all of them.
Yeah.
I would have liked if Church like joined the fight halfway through, and then like again he got his ass kicked too. Like I think that would have been fine.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
The point is I'm trying to make is like it's supposed to be like Tex versus the Reds and Blues, but it's like Tex versus the Reds and Blue, like singular.
Yeah, and again, a lot of the reasons I hate this. Well, I should say hate, but a lot of the points against this fight is because we lost out on what Wash could have been as like a villain and stuff like that.
Yeah, this scene. Yeah, this definitely was like the focus of like this was like their eye candy for the season, and it feels a little bit like misplaced. Like I definitely feel like they should have put these resources into other parts of the season.
Yeah, and again, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said they did a good job mixing the new animation with the old animation. This fight doesn't completely change on my view, but this fight was my reference when I said, well, there's one point where they not do it too much, but then it just feels out of you're just showing off like you have new animation now. Like
yeah, and that's the thing. This is like this fight is like super unimportant to the plot.
Yeah,
like it kind of just happens. Like it really just feels like a fight scene to have a fight scene.
Yeah, definitely. But I like the actual fight. But there's a lot of things working against this fight's favor. And again,
yeah,
what I saw,
like you said, if we got more time with like Wash in the meta, like we got screen time for the things that like deserve more screen time, this fight would be fine. But yeah, like you said, it has a couple knocks against it because it took up so much time.
And I will say, when I saw this fight originally, like the first time viewing this season, I'm like, oh, this fight's pretty cool. Then I'm like, oh, this fight's kind of going on a little bit long. But then when I saw like the rest of the season, like we didn't really get much of Wash in the meta. I'm like, wow. So, and I was trying to figure out like why did we not get much of the Wash in the meta? And I remember I was like, then when I said like to you like the fight went a little long, that's when the light bulb hit. Like, oh, that's probably why we didn't get much of Wash in the meta.
Yeah. And to be fair, it isn't just this fight. They're in this facility for like half the season.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're in the desert for like for a little while, and then they end up in the snow place for a little while. But like the good chunk of the season is like them in this base.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Wash and the Meta never even come here. So yeah, it feels like a big disconnect. Like I'm fine with them being here for a while. but definitely less than what they ended up being.
And that's how cool it would have been. Like with Wash has all this equipment now that he would have been able to like use if he had this fight like with them, like type of thing.
Yeah, like again, I feel like a lot of these problems would have been fixed if watching the meta like ambushed them here. They had another fight, and then they all like retreated to the snow base.
Yeah, definitely.
Like literally, just give us like one more encounter with Wash in the meta. I think it would have been fine because it would have made Wash seem less stupid for like losing their trail and not being able to find them. You know, it would have given us more time to like have the heroes and villains interact, and it would have been like more justified to have them be in this base for so long.
Yeah, definitely. You would have to work out like, you know, how they find out about the snow base and everything like that, but you could also do that like before.
Well, I feel like it would have been perfectly fine because remember, they were like, as Washington said, they were able to like pick up a trail.
Yeah.
To like leading them to this base, but then you know Tex does her thing at the snow base and they end up going there.
Right.
I feel like easily could have just like again they pick up a trail in the desert, they end up coming here. They all go to the snow base. They lose them there. They're like, fuck, we don't know how to get to, like, we don't know where they're going. And then once they're there, Tex does her thing. Then they go to the snow base.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
Because like we said, they just would have been fucking living in the desert forever. Like, they never would have found them.
Yeah.
So have it be, they find them here. They meet them here. They have a fight. They retreat somehow. You know, they lose them again. And then they find them at the snow base because of what Tex does.
Because the whole reason, too, you know, because then you can kind of eliminate the whole thing about like the recovery beacon, like not being able to work there and everything like that too. Because like that's the whole reason, like, because Church gets fucked up in this fight. Church gets fucked up here too, like beaten up pretty bad, like in this facility. But obviously we find out like his recovery beacon doesn't go off because it can't happen like in this facility. That's like the only. I feel like they wrote that in so that way they could make it so Washington.
And honestly, that's kind of a dumb rule because, like, okay, so what if like they did want to retrieve, you know, say Project Freelancer wasn't shut down, you know, Church was here, he got injured, and it's like, okay, so no one can come retrieve him,
right?
But I feel like that's a dumb rule anyway. Like, oh, if you're inside one of our bases, the recovery beacon will go off,
right? Especially,
so it's kind of a dumb rule anyway. So like, yeah, I feel like they should have just got rid of that.
Yeah,
Church gets injured here, Washington better go find him. Yeah,
definitely.
And like, you know, pretty easy too, like you said, cut down this fight a little by a couple minutes and put it into like a new fight. You know, like give us another fight with Meta and Wash and versus the Reds and Blues and Tex.
Right.
Or you know, could have done like a three-way fight. You know, Reds and Blues versus Tex versus like, you know, like it's kind of like a free for all.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, this fight's going on and then like doing it like Wash and the Meta show up, so they all have to kind of like work together to like, you know, it starts as like a three-way fight, but then eventually they kind of like, it's kind of like that fight that Aang, like that.
Yeah, and Zuko and Azula get into. Actually, when we get to that, I'm gonna complain a little bit because it was never even really a three-way fight. Because like Zuko and Aang never attack each other.
Right.
Like it was pretty much only them attacking Azula.
But yeah, you know, but it would have been cool.
And Rooster Teeth in their show Ruby also kind of fucked up a three-way fight where it was a free for all for like 30 seconds and then it became two characters like ganging up on the third guy.
Wow, what's with it with cartoons not being able to do like three-way fights?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like having like a three-way standoff is so cool, but a lot of things fuck it up.
Yeah. So
like maybe I feel like, you know, like two characters will end up joining up and I'm like, no, that's the whole point of having a three-way fight is they're all fighting each other.
I think Ben 10 probably did it the best in Hunted because that was kind of like a three-way fight in the beginning and everything.
Yeah, that did it pretty good.
Yeah.
But it also that one also doesn't last too long.
It did it the best out of all the ones we're talking about though. So
yeah, true. But yeah, point is this fight was cool, but missed potential. Definitely could have, you know, like if they cut this fight down and like put some of the resources into like other things this season. Would have fixed a lot of problems with this season.
Definitely. But yeah, continuing. Let's see. Just trying to get my... Okay. So, doing all of this, you know, as Tex is beating the shit out of Church with his old body that he was in, like, the beginning of this season. Like, Caboose is just trying to figure out, like, a way to, like, basically stop this fight and everything like that. And Phyllis, finally mentions the fact that they can just be shut down. Well, not shut down, but put in lockdown. And pretty much that's gonna like stop everyone's like suits and like they basically get put in recovery mode. And Church is Caboose is just like, yeah, do that, please, like do that type of thing, because obviously Caboose doesn't know what it is. So eventually everyone gets put into recovery mode except Caboose, because he's in like the old armor. And I do like to do a joke about that, where like Phyllis was like, you were really smart to wear that armor knowing you're gonna come here and not get put in shutdown mode. And Caboose was just like, yeah, it's totally why I did that.
I do like that, because remember Church mentioned that in season 6 that Caboose never upgraded his armor, so I do like that they did something with that.
I think what I liked about this callback too is that's when like Wash, like that joke is what got Wash kind of finally sick of like the the blues and like the banter and everything like that. So
yeah. So I do like that it wasn't just a one-off joke. Yeah.
So then doing all this, was Tucker? How come Tucker was Tucker not in recovery mode because he had the sword?
No, he was.
Oh well, because when Church comes out of it, like Tucker's already out of it. So what happened there?
Well, yeah. So Caboose got Church and Tucker back online.
Okay.
And then they were like, they didn't want to get the Reds online because they were worried the Reds were going to attack them in Tex.
I guess I didn't think Tucker was, because they didn't do a scene with like Tucker in recovery mode, so that's why I didn't think Tucker.
Oh yeah. They just had him do it off screen, I guess.
To poor Tucker, man, he didn't get to be put in.
He feels a little unimportant this season. Like I'm glad he's there. He's kind of like Caboose.
Yeah.
Where like he's there and he's doing stuff, but like he's not really a main focus.
I will say he does more here than Donut does last season.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I'm gonna talk about in a few minutes. There's like a deleted. Yeah. There's a deleted thing here that that Donut does that that was probably.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring it up. I was gonna wait till like an actual thing happens, but I'm like, oh, okay, you saw the extended cut. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but he did more in that extended cut than he did all of season 7. So.
Yeah, really, Jesus.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I know, right?
But anyhow, so yeah, Church is stuck in recovery mode. But did you ever notice a character like missed out on like a new thing though? Like Wash and Simmons kind of got left out of the new animation a lot. And like Tucker got left out of. We didn't get a scene with Tucker like in recovery mode type of thing. Like Caboose didn't really get to be in any plots. Like those.
Yeah, Caboose wasn't in any of the fight scenes. Yeah, even Church was barely in a fight. The only animation fight he was in was when he fucking got the shit kicked out of him by Tex for like 2 seconds.
And then like Tex missed out on like being funny. So like if you notice, a character in this season missed out on like a big thing. Like in a weird way.
True. Yeah, the more we talk about it, I can definitely see why, as we're going to talk about, you ended up liking season 6 more than season 8.
Yeah. But it's just kind of funny how like that happened. Like every character missed out on something type of thing. Like
yeah, true.
It's like everyone got brought to like the lone section. Like you're gonna do the story stuff. You're gonna be the funny person. You're gonna be in the fights. New anime. It's like they went to like a club and like Washington and like Simmons tried to go to like the new animation club, and they're like, "Yep,
And they're like, hold on, we already hit a character limit. You guys gotta fucking sit out in the cold rain." And Simmons and Wash are like, "Oh man," and it's like, "Hey, listen, at least we're not in the didn't show up at all this season pile with Donut and Lopez."
Well, Donut shows up this season.
Oh yeah, fucking in the extended cut, not even in the like normal cut of the season.
But anyhow, so Church is in recovery mode. Well, everyone's in recovery mode, but we get Church's perspective on it. And
well, I do like how Phyllis was originally calling him the director, but once he's in recovery mode, she's calling him an AI.
Yeah.
Because remember, that's what happened in Recovery 1, was when York died, Delta was like in recovery mode until he could be retrieved by a recovery agent.
Yeah. So this is where we get that BS rule that you didn't like, where it's revealed like that the beacon's not going to go off because Wash has to live in the desert the rest of his life. So,
Oh, I do like one little detail, though, of this recovery beacon was added in after the freelancer break-in.
Mm-hmm. I did like that.
And this is another mention of that, because we've gotten a few mentions of that, and we're going to get more info on it soon. But, yeah, I'm glad that was added.
But, yeah, Church, but the recovery beacon didn't go off, because, again, Wash has to live in the desert the rest of his life, so...
Yeah, he's not allowed to be into the plot until, like, the last 20 minutes.
Wash is just waiting. He's just waiting, you know, waiting
Yeah,
for his.
I'm
cue.
glad. I like how we like covered his entire plot for this season, like pretty early on in the video. So now the whole rest of the video, like we're not even gonna fucking be talking about him.
Again, you would honestly like if we just did that, you would have thought, like you said, you won't buddy cop spinoff. Honestly, that just felt like one of those spinoffs that they would do. Like
Yeah, legit. It feels like a mini series. Like it doesn't even feel like it's part of the season. And he's like the main villain of the fucking season.
yeah. And again, you wouldn't even know that if you missed the beginning, if you didn't see any of the last of season 7, missed the beginning of like season 8, you wouldn't have even known the Blues were being hunted by somebody type of thing.
Literally, yeah.
Like honestly, in Ben 10 when they didn't know they were being hunted, you would have picked up on it quicker there than like here type of thing.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my god, yeah. It's kind of like how and we were talking about Kyoshi Island where Zuko shows up for like 2 seconds. We're like, oh yeah, right. Zuko was in this episode, huh? It's kind of like, oh yeah, Wash and Meta are in the season, huh?
Which one did it better though? Like we're not knowing Zuko was there, or not knowing Wash. I felt like not.
I guess Wash and Meta, but it's not saying much.
So yeah,
Let's say at least Wash and Meta got a cool fight. Fucking what happened with Zuko? He got immediately fucking sent flying by Aang.
That's true.
Zuko was like, all right, Aang, let's have a cool fight. And Aang was like, nah, fuck you.
Imagine put Aang in this universe and like the Reds like in that universe type of thing. Like they would have at least gotten like Zuko would have gotten a cool fight and like
Yeah, we would have got a cool fight. Yeah, and fucking Wash and Meta would have immediately got sent flying. Yeah, would have been the end of the season.
really quick. And Wash would have been in the desert doing all that shit for nothing. Like at least Wash gets a fight out of it type of thing. Like you know.
Yeah, true.
But then
Yeah, fucking light up the tunnel at least. It's a dim light. It's a light at the end at least.
But yeah, anyhow, so I like how I was supposed to be talking about what was going on, but half of it's just been like me ranting about Wash being in the desert. Like
I know, right?
Wash, he's been wanting a vacation. He finally gets one, and no one likes the fact that he got a vacation type of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, again, to bring it up, it's fucking a Jimmy Neutron episode. He skips school to go hang out in the fucking desert for a while. Why not?
yeah. That'd be funny if it's the same desert that's in Jimmy Neutron. It's like this is the same desert.
Yeah. We see the pyramid right there. We see Jimmy Neutron in his fucking hover car.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Just chilling. But anyhow, so
the Meta didn't repair the Epsilon unit. It was Jimmy. Jimmy gave him a quick little tinker to make it a capture unit.
And he actually made it so the like Epsilon could get out type of thing. So
yeah, I would love that.
Or like at the end of the episode, Jimmy Neutron just shows up and just like does his magic and just makes it so he can get out. It's no big.
I know, right?
Scene at the
We're
end.
like, oh man, how's Church gonna get out of there? In season 9, it's like, oh, Jimmy fucking fixes it. Don't worry, all good. It's weird crossover, but I'll take it.
Yeah, but anyhow, so so Church is stuck in recovery mode, and he could see like text like over in like the corner of the room, but like they're in like separate. I guess I would call it like Zoom calls. I guess does that.
Yeah, I guess. Well, also this is cool because they brought this back from season 1. If you remember, Sarge got shot in the head in season 1, and he was in this like the afterlife.
Oh yeah.
And he saw Church there, and I think a lot of people were wondering like, wait, how come it makes sense that like Church is there because he's in an eye, but how come Sarge is how come he was like in this like weird afterlife place? And this kind of explains that Sarge back then got put in the recovery mode.
Mm-hmm.
And like we didn't know that. That's kind of a cool, again, a lot of like callbacks to previous seasons.
But yeah, so Church says like that he would like to speak with Tex, but like Phyllis is like no, like she's refusing to be put through, and then Church is just like, well, can't you just like force connection? And Phyllis is just like, well, I could, but I don't think that would be wise for her to do that. And if originally Church is thinking that like that it could like mess up her systems or something like that, but instead they do it. Which I actually kind of like this joke. They do a funny joke where like I think it's best to like leave a woman alone when they don't want to talk to you, which I thought was a funny joke.
Yeah.
So then she has them like break like Church out of it type of thing, which does happen, and then you see that like Tucker's been broken out. And
I do like what Tucker says, where he's like, "Hey, Church, where'd you get that new body?" And Church says, "Long story, I'll tell you later." And Tucker says, like, I know I asked, but I don't really give a shit, Church.
which I feel like that was kind of a joke on the fans too, because the fans actually probably wanted to know, but they didn't get their answers either, which I thought was pretty funny. So
yeah, well, again, it's like we were saying, like characters will get caught up on the things they missed, and Tucker's like, I don't give a shit. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an Avatar when Toph is like, "Who's Zhong Zhong?" You know what? Never mind. If it's important, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So then, I did kind of like this because you got to see like what it looks like when you're actually in recovery mode. So you're just like frozen pretty much. So you see, like the Reds are just frozen, but they can like still heal them and everything like that. And doing this, they do a funny joke where like Caboose keeps speaking into the microphone. So like eventually Church is just like, all right, mute Caboose type of thing. And like you can hear like Caboose like he's still talking, and then like when it mutes, he's like, "Oh damn." I guess something I'm failing.
Also, sorry, I was gonna say, Church is pretty much back to how he used to be. Because he was acting like not quite himself earlier. It seems like he's got all of his memories back. He seems to be like acting like how Church used to.
Yeah, I like that. So then we see this from the Reds' perspective, and I like that they were kind of all together. I thought that made sense.
Yeah. And
they think they're in the afterlife. They think they died, and I like this too because like Saul just taking shots at like Griff, saying like, "This is unfortunate, but good that Griff is dead." And then like Griff is trying to like use this opportunity to take a nap whenever he wants because Sarge said that he could. And they can hear like Church talking to them, and from their perspective, it just looks like Church is like a god, so they think it's God that's talking to them. But obviously, we can just see that he's just talking to them like regular, like face to face type of thing.
Yeah, and I do like how Tucker's like, "Oh, great, that's exactly what we need, more people worshiping you."
Yeah. So, basically, Church makes a deal with them that, if they're let out of, recovery mode, to, like, not attack them, and the Reds agree to it.
I do like how, the Reds make a good point of, like, fucking Texas is the one who attacked us.
Yeah, that was a great point, actually. So, so eventually, everybody but Tex is out of recovery mode, and then they're kind of wondering what to do about Tex and they take a vote on it, and I do like they do a funny joke where like they try to get Caboose to say "I," but he's like not getting the joke, so eventually the Church just votes for him, and like the Reds. Like Charles just like a double negative, so like Griff doesn't even really vote; he just bullshits, which I thought was pretty funny. And Church just vetoes and says, "No, I'm waking her up." So he, so that way he can talk to Tex without having to be in like recovery mode. He leaves his body and like goes into Tex's body, and I do have a question. Have they ever explained this? If Tex is an AI, how come an AI can go inside like an AI technically? Type of thing.
Yeah, that's super clear. I guess just because she has like a body, like another AI can go into her mind.
Okay, that makes sense.
He just can't like influence her.
Oh yeah.
I guess kind of like, remember how like Omega could like make people like evil, but like he couldn't make the Alpha evil.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's kind of the thing.
But yeah. So Church is talking to Tex, and basically she wants to know like why he wants to know why she attacked everybody, and she said that it was payback from like them attacking her, and like she felt like she had to struggle to break out of this place like originally, which I kind of think was a good thing to say there. Didn't make any reason for the fight to happen though, but it's so good.
I know, yeah, it really honestly it was mainly just Tex being an asshole. Like that's the only reason the fight happened.
Yeah. And then Tex like agrees to not attack anybody, but like Tucker earlier like said like a funny line because Tex was sleeping. He like says like a funny like not good being up and not good sleeping. So it reminds me of my ex-wife. So she said she's gonna like take a cheap shot at Tucker for that. I
do like how she doesn't even like say his name. She's like, "I'm gonna fucking deck the one with the sword."
Yeah, because again she's pretty new, so she doesn't know anybody. So He agrees to take her out of recovery mode and everything like that. So she gets taken out of recovery mode. But before I talk about that, a big thing happened. We kind of talked about this. I watched this episode, because obviously you can't watch it anymore on the regular Rooster Teeth channel because it's shut. The company shut down, and they changed their thing where like you had to subscribe and like join their like subscription like part of their channel, so that way you could.
Yeah, they took our Red vs. Blue used to be free on YouTube, but then they took it off YouTube, put it on their subscription, and then but yeah, like you said, the company shut down. So now.
Yeah. Oh, I should try to join.
And it used to be on Netflix, but it's been off there for a while now.
Yeah. So I would watch it other ways, but now they have a big video of like the Recollection trilogy, and I was just scrolling through it. I was skimming through the episodes, and AJ, in a weird way, you kind of spoiled this episode for me because you gave me these bits to talk about. So I went through to watch like these bits, and. There's a big scene. There's a deleted scene that happened here. So everybody got taken off recovery mode, and it was like, it showed like everybody that we've seen this season. It even, even Wash got to be shown. In the desert chilling.
Yeah, one of the rare times. Yeah.
But then it cuts back to Valhalla, and Donut wakes up and he just says like, oh, I thought I was dead or something like that. Like, I don't remember exactly what he says. But
yeah, so Donut's alive, and I wasn't even going to bring that up because, it's not revealed this season, obviously, if you didn't watch the extended cut. Because that wasn't even, like, in the season proper. That was, like, an extra scene. And, like, because I think the way they did it was, like, they would release seasons, like, early on their website, and then they would release it free on YouTube. But and like the idea is like you would get some extra scenes if you subscribed, or like deleted scenes or cut content, whatever. So yeah, this Donut being revealed as alive wasn't even in like season 8 proper.
Right.
It was a cut scene, and so yeah, when Donut comes, I didn't know about that scene until like way later when I first was going through the show. Donut popped up, in a later season. I was like, oh shit, Donut's back. But then I found out about this scene. I'm like, oh, some people fucking knew Donut was alive for a while then.
And I remember even asking, like, I thought this was just like a random commercial that like they did for some reason, like as a joke or something. But I'm like, nope, I guess that's
yeah, because remember Breaking Bad, they did like a commercial where fucking Hank like crawled out of his grave.
Yeah. So
you thought it was like that? That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, this happened. I will say this. I feel like when it comes to LVB, I have like the weirdest fan because I didn't get to watch it when like on the website the way I was supposed to on YouTube either because obviously I would have been spoiled.
Yeah, you watched the Blood Gulch Chronicles on Netflix, which is not a great way to watch it.
And then like I started getting back into it again because we started doing videos again when the company shut down pretty much. I can't even watch.
And now we're having to watch like re-uploads of it. Yeah.
And then like like a big scene, a big reveal, I'm already gonna like know now because I already saw the if there's ever like a fan club, I'm probably gonna be like the weirdest fan of LVB like in the history of like LVB probably. I'm
like, yeah, you saw the show through like all the ways the creators did intend. That is funny.
Yeah. But then let's see. Okay, so then I think that we had some Wash in the Desert bullshit in between this, and then when it comes back, I did like that Tex got clued in off screen because obviously it wouldn't really be anything different if we just saw her happen since we kind of saw it happen with Church. So I kind of like that they just kind of took care of that off screen.
Yeah, it seemed like Church was just exploring, and then she comes in and says like, "Oh yeah, I asked like Caboose and the other guys like, what have you guys been up to?" They did a joke where she was like, it didn't take that long," and Church was like, "Yeah, we don't really seem to do much." I was like, "You guys have been doing quite a bit the last like 2 seasons."
Yeah, and then she wants to like go through like the computer and like kind of find out more like stuff. They kept doing like a joke here where anytime they would make like a sex innuendo, like Tucker would show up, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought that was a funny joke. Well, obviously that's kind of Tucker's shtick. It's like he'll make sex jokes. I don't think he said "Bow Chicka Wow Wow" once this season. I just realized.
It's okay. He doesn't have to say it.
That was like his catchphrase.
Maybe he forgot.
I guess. Yeah, he didn't say it once this season. That's crazy.
Which is kind of weird because that was the whole reason we knew it was him in season 6. So.
Yeah, when he said it over the radio, yeah. Um,
But,
I will say with Tex, she's a little too mean. I will say. Now,
yeah.
she says a couple times she's not happy to be back. Is kind of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why. But she's a real fucking asshole. Like you said, she's not funny at all. Like she's not even bantering with anyone. And a little later, when the Reds and Blues like offer to help her,
Yeah.
she says like, "No, you guys would just slow me down. You guys all suck." And I'm like, wow. Like before it seemed like Tex was like, at least, she kind of liked the Reds and Blues.
Right.
This season, it just makes it seem like she just like fucking hates them. And I'm like, damn.
And, she fucks up. Again, she's the whole reason. It's her own fault that she gets trapped in the Upsilon Moon, technically. If you think
Right. So that's, because I've said before, I like when comedies are, like the characters will rib each other and be assholes to each other. But, like, you never get the sense that they hate each other. Like, you still get the sense that they're all friends.
Yeah.
And Tex feels like an outlier for that. Like, this season really feels like Tex, like, just fucking hates everyone. And
Right.
I'm not a big fan of that. Because, Tex has been hanging around with these guys. I know not the same Tex, but Tex in general has been hanging around these guys since season 1.
And I feel like, too, this joke would land more. But like, well, we've been seeing the past few seasons, the Reds and Blues are more than capable of holding their own. Like even earlier this season, they take it to Wash in the meta pretty well.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job later on. And I mean, like, Tex said they can't fight, but like, I mean, they did a fairly decent job against you. They didn't die, so
Right. I mean, they honestly, if it wasn't for Caboose, they probably who knows, they probably would have fucked up Tess pretty good, honestly. So.
Yeah, they might have been. Well, they might have been able to land that rocket launcher. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Tex, because when we get to that scene, I do like that she kind of like she's not, she's like, I'm gonna find out the answers about why like I'm doing what she should do in the church, like that, like she doesn't really know like why she enters church. I don't know if I like that either, just because that kind of fucks up a lot of that fucks up like church, and that fucks up like text and everything like that. So
yeah, and like I was saying, I do get why she's pissed, and I do like when church is like, most thank you would be nice because most people would prefer being alive over being dead, and Tex says like oh, you always seem to know what's best for me, church.
Mm-hmm.
And later, again, she also says, like, hey, church, I didn't want to come back, but, like, you always bring me back to handle the things you can't handle.
Right.
So, like, I am glad she's pissed off and, like, she's not happy to be back. That is interesting.
Right.
And, like, church basically keeps bringing her back against her will.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm kind of mad that she's, like, keeps taking it out on everyone else.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you were going to get to it, but I think you skipped over. Tex asks Church how he brought her back. And he says, like, I don't know. I just couldn't get you out of my head. And so I had to get you out of my head.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna get to it, but I guess it's good to talk about it. Which makes sense because that kind of confirmed that was the visions Church was seeing like earlier in the season and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, and then
and that ties in because we find out a bit more about how the original Alpha made the original Tex, and it seems to be like a similar thing.
Mm-hmm. So then Tex wants to kind of like know a little bit more and go through like the databases, and doing all of this, the Reds are going to use this opportunity to get the Blues back in the database. So he has Simmons go do it, and he wants Griff's help to like hold the names up on the piece of paper and everything like that. And they do a funny joke where like Griff tries to be lazy and not do it, but Simmons is just like, okay, well, I can make your job description whatever you want. I can even make it work like an ass taster type of thing. And
You like that? Yeah, that's a funny joke.
And he says, I can even make you like a woman. And like Griff tries to play it off like, that can't happen if you put it in the database. And then Simmons, then he's like worried, like, I better go do that. I thought that was a good callback because, when they actually did eliminate the Blues from the database, like Caboose disappeared. So they thought, that made Caboose disappear. So I thought that was kind of a nice callback. But yeah, so the Texas looking up the information, and Church comes up, and I do like it because they mentioned like the computer's a little bit more difficult like with them than like Church because he's not like the director type of thing.
Yeah.
So I liked that, and we find out that there's no information about them or the director. It's all categorized as unclassified, so that shows that the director probably deleted all his records or something like that.
It is cool. There's no record of the director of church. Well, like our church and text. Yeah.
And then
I do like they do a funny joke where Simmons is like, Washington needs to wet the bed.
Yeah, because we find out that everyone.
Because Washington had a profile. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have liked that joke more, like if Wash was more of a badass this season, though. So.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when they take a shot at him, it's kind of like, come on, he can't even defend himself. He's not even fucking doing anything this season.
Yeah. And then we find out that there's like this place of like snow, like a facility there type of thing. It's kind of weird because they were looking at the picture, but we couldn't like see it. We just saw it from like their point of view. I don't know if they did that because they didn't have the technology to like show it, or they wanted it to like a big reveal later. That was kind of weird. Whatever. So like Tex says that she's gonna go there, like get suited up and everything like that. But then the second that Tex walks away, like Church says she's gonna go with her, and then Phyllis is just like, do you want to like update like your journal entries to the director and everything like that? And Church is just like, oh, he had journals. Yeah, but he has the Phyllis play back one of the director's like journal entries. So she does. Should have realized this wasn't the director when you did this, but whatever.
I know, it's like, hey, Church, how come you don't have a southern accent?
Yeah. We never really hear like much of this like journal entry. Like the second that like it plays, pretty much, Church just cuts it off, pretty much.
Yeah, I actually I did like rewind and like try to listen closer because what he says when Church is like talking over him is pretty interesting. But I'll let you say it first.
He's like talking about like, I don't remember exactly what he says. So do you want to just say what he says?
Okay. So he says, the counselor constantly calling Tex a byproduct continues to frustrate me. And then Church starts like talking over it. But, in the background, you can hear him saying, compared to the other fragments, she's something else entirely.
That's cool. And obviously that ties into what like Church says to like Washington later on and everything like that.
Well, also again, I think the director's saying that like he's frustrated when other people call Tex like a byproduct or a shadow. Makes sense, because Church also gets upset when Washington calls her that.
Yeah.
And as we're gonna find out, Tex is pretty different from the other fragments.
So then, I think Church has Phyllis sent all the files over to like him except this one. I think like the one that the journal entry that gets played, she has like get deleted, which I think showed like that Church didn't like that she said that like within. So
yeah. Real quick thing, I like how Sarge is like spying on Church here, and then Griff is like doing an impression of Sarge, and he's like, because Sarge is saying like, I wonder what those blues are up to, and Griff is like, they're probably looking at us and saying, I wonder what those reds are up to. And then Church like walks by and he says, hey, Griff. And Griff is like, hey, what's up, man?
That was funny, yeah. It was like...
Well, because I was watching the audio commentary and they said that was one of their favorite jokes of the season. Oh, it's just like a small thing of, like they're in the middle of like this serious plot thing. And then they're just like, hey, man, what's up?
Yeah.
Like really quick.
Yeah. And then, they go to get the blues back into the... Well... Sarge is like questioning like Griff about why he's not like helping them, or he's not helping like Simmons and everything like that. And he says he's on break and you got to use it before you lose it. And I like it too because like he does another joke where he basically took Simmons' break pretty much, which I think is funny. So
yeah, you like it's funny because Doc was just telling Washington about how the freelancers have a shitty break system.
Mm-hmm. So. Just think about that, AJ. When you and I get a job, we better use our breaks. So someone could just be taking our breaks, like
I know, right? Imagine I'm like, okay, guys, I'm gonna go for lunch. And they're like, no, Frank over there already used your break. I'm like, what?
It's like 2 minutes, you're like 2 minutes late to your break type of thing, and you miss it that quickly. Griff seems like that type of person. He gets everyone's like break like schedules at like work and everything like that. And it makes it so that way he can just take a break the whole day, pretty much.
That's funny. Yeah.
Doing this, everyone huddles together, and Tech says that she's gonna go to this place with the snow, and like you said, everyone offers to go help her out, but she's cold and mean to them, so it's she's just like, yeah, no, you're not going. You guys are just gonna slow me down. She lets.
What's extra mean is when Church says he's gonna go, and Tech says, yeah, I think I can use you.
Yeah.
And then we already know what Tex is planning. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
That's fucking cold.
Yep. And then they cut to the next scene. So I just talk about this scene like now. I know I've been talking like a while, but just talk about it now.
I'll say mine because I'll say mine because mine's not that long.
Yeah.
What'd you
think of all that stuff though? Like everything kind of wrapping up Tex and Church's time at this place and everything like that.
It was okay. Again, having a bit of downtime was nice. And then kind of like investigating what's going on. Like I said, we spent too much time at this base. It's like half the season.
Right.
I feel like you could, it was kind of cool to see Griffin Simmons fuck around with the equipment.
Right.
But I feel like you kind of could have cut that out.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, just giving more time for Wash in the meta to interact with the heroes would have been better.
Wash needs his vacation though, man. He doesn't get them. He's gotta use them where he can.
Oh, right. He's gotta enjoy them while he can, even if it's in the middle of a fucking desert.
Do you think he was really enjoying his vacation though? Because it didn't seem like he was.
I know, right? He was having to deal with the meta and Doc, so I don't think he was really enjoying it that much.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. And he just got out of prison too. He's fucking out of one hellhole into another.
And the prison was also his vacation, technically, if you think about it. He was just chilling.
Yeah, true, yeah. He got his meals and he got to get away from it all. He's, after all this shit, he's probably, what? I want to go back to prison.
This is actually worse than prison. He didn't even get any meals in the desert, so. True.
Yeah, they were out there for a while. As Doc said, it should be assumed that you're thirsty out there. Yeah, Tex and Church go to the opposite of a desert, big snowy place. Tex murders a bunch of guys, and Church is like, wow, did he have to kill them? And Tex says, they'll live. And Church goes, no, they won't.
Right.
And Tex says, oh, I see your point. Church realizes that the visions he was having weren't actually of Valhalla, it was of this place.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense. How do you mix up Valhalla in this place? I assume it's because his memories were all jumbled, and remember, Caboose was trying to get Epsilon back up and running in Valhalla.
Yeah.
So, that's why he was mixing it up?
Because, the reason that he pieces it together is because when Tex goes to go in this facility, it's, the same, way she was going into it, back then type of thing, so... Yeah,
but Tex says, you're not psychic. These aren't visions. You're just remembering. And we find out this base was where they moved Alpha after the freelancers broke in to try and get him. And remember, we learned a bit about this in season 6. That out of Mind, we found out Tex broke out of a base when they tried to take Omega from her. Mm-hmm. But then she came back to try to free the Alpha. And then, the break-in was, trying to free Alpha. So she said that, because we knew the break-in was a thing. We didn't know Tex was involved in it. Church was surprised, oh, whoa, you were in charge of the break-in.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Tex and a few other freelancers figured out that the director was torturing the Alpha AI. So they all went rogue and broke into their main base to try and rescue Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
But Church says, oh, so so when we found out a bit more about how Alpha was getting tortured. So basically, they were torturing him for a while to make fragments. And then after a while, the director started making the fragments torture Alpha. Yeah, and it's cool we see. Yeah, so in Texas, that's sick. To make somebody's own, making the Alpha's own pieces of himself, torture himself to make more.
Yeah.
And we pan over and see a little computer terminal. And this is the same terminal Gary was in during the time-traveling 3-parter.
Mm-hmm.
And Tex says that Omega and Gamma would run Alpha through scenarios over and over again where he was he would keep failing. and the people he cared about would keep dying, which would like make him break down even more.
Yeah, that's
So
insane.
that ties in season 3, where remember Church was time traveling over and over again, and we later found out Gary was a Gamma. So it's like, oh, that's weird. Why was Gamma trying to help Church? Because obviously he was like, working with Wyoming. So now we find out that Gamma was basically, he kept sending Church back in time over and over again, knowing he would keep failing.
That's just insane. Like,
yeah.
And
remember, Church was even like, fuck this, I'm gonna go live in a cave. So like it kind of worked, where Church was like, fuck this.
You know what's weird? That one, I think that's like the funniest joke too of like season 3. That's so fun. That I'm gonna think of that joke so differently now because like
knowing that Gabe was like torturing Alpha like he used to.
Yeah.
And Alpha doesn't even remember.
Yeah.
But Church says like, well, hey, like, it worked, right? When you broke into Free Alpha, like, you freed him, right? Because he was in Blood Gulch and you were in Blood Gulch. And Tex says, no, I failed because when I got to him, he was too far gone. He didn't even know who I was. And
I like to think, in war, like when they help when it was finally time to like, when the U.S. won the war and like they were able to end like, the concentration camps and stuff. Like some of those people had been in those concentration camps a while. Like they saved them, but again, they were in there for so long. They mentally broke.
Well, Owen, that's actually a really cool thing. Well, not cool, but when I was in middle school, we actually had a Holocaust survivor like come and like talk about his experience.
Okay.
And he said something that really like stuck with him was when the U.S. Army like broke into the concentration camp and like they came in with a bunch of food to like feed everyone, but because some of the prisoners, like their stomach had shrunk so much, they started like downing food because they were so hungry. But because their stomach couldn't handle it, so they ended up dying.
That's insane.
So that's the thing that sucks is like the U.S. came in with like good intentions to like free a bunch of people and like give them food, but like because they didn't like they gave them too much food all at once and like killed them.
Yeah. So.
And that's kind of suck. You finally get freed after so long. And you start like eating food because you're so hungry, and that kills you. It's like, damn, that's cruel.
I hate to say this. I wonder if that's gonna happen to someone in like when in Yellow Jackets. Well, maybe not in Yellow Jackets because.
Okay, so that's the thing is like like you can eat. You just have to like eat in moderation. Like you have to slowly get your stomach like back to a normal size.
Yeah. So
like that's what the Holocaust survivor was saying. Was that, like he wished the U.S. like had planned that out more.
Right.
Like instead of giving everyone a bunch of food, that they all like kind of like gave them food in moderation and like slowly got them back to like a normal health.
So in a weird way, we made like a pretty fucked up comparison to like the Alpha then, pretty much. Like
I know. Sorry, that ended up being a tangent. But when you made the comparison to concentration camps, that made me remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, and because like I told you, we're gonna see the break-in next season. Not next season, but like during season 9 and 10. So it's kind of cool. We're learning a bit more about it now.
Yeah, so I like that. Like I said, I'm wondering all this stuff. I'm gonna see. I feel like we're being told what's happening in season 9, but I can't wait to actually like see it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's cool learning a bit about it, like before we actually see it.
Yeah.
And the break-in especially because that's been mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Tex says, she got the Alpha, but like he was too far gone. He didn't even know who I was. I failed, and failure in Tex that ends up being a unfortunately very common thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tex leaves the base, and Church is like, okay, so like, what are we even doing here? And Tex says that she wants to find the director and like figure out like who like why he brought her back basically, because he's the one who brought her back in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that like I'm gonna confront Washington and the Meta and see if they know where he is. And Church brings up a good point, like, okay, well, what if they don't know where he is? Because yeah, obviously they don't know where he is. Like Washington wanted to kill the director.
Yeah.
So if Washington knew where he was, he would have fucking killed him. And then Tex says, well, like, okay, if they don't know where he is, then I'm gonna kill Washington Meta. Because if I can't get to the director, I'm gonna destroy everything he created.
Right.
Because in a fucked up way, the Meta and Washington are both experiments of the director in a way.
Oh, that's fucked. Yeah. Well...
Yeah. You know, because as I pointed out, aside from CT, or even then, pretty much everybody in this show is like a result of the director.
Well, I guess the Reds and Blues kind of too. You know, they were just kind of.
Yeah, well, they bring that up during the Sarge speech, that the director basically like took them all away from their families to fight in his stupid bullshit fake war.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the meta in Washington specifically, you know, because they got the AIs and that fucked them up.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So and then Church brings up like, you know, the director, you want to destroy everything he built, but like it seems like he built all this for you. And I like Tex's response where she's like disgusted and she's like, "Oh, that's even more reason to burn it all down."
Mm.
And then I like Church says like, "Okay, well, like, what if Washington and the Meta never find us?" And like he's like, "Yeah, you know, they fucking listen. They're never gonna find us. They're gonna be stuck in the desert forever."
Yeah.
And then Tex says, "No, they're gonna come to us now." And she shoots Church, not fatally. She just like shoots him in the leg. It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that, you know, the recovery beacon wouldn't have activated in the base, so I needed to bring you like out in the open. So now that Washington and the Meta are going to be able to find you, and I'm going to be able to like ambush them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what Church says of like, "Hey, you know, Tex, I would have helped you." And then Tex said, "You can't even help yourself, and that's why you made me. You made me to handle all the things you couldn't handle, so I'm going to handle it."
Mm-hmm.
And she says like, "I'm gonna, you know, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I guess that's, you know, what I'm gonna figure out."
Yeah, so I liked that. So
I like that we're getting a lot more of like what happened in the past Project Freelancer between Alpha and Tex, and also we're getting a bit more of like Tex's motivation, the director's motivation, and you know, just like the relationship between Church and Tex in general.
Yeah, this was really good stuff here. I like this a lot. You know.
And like I said, I'm glad Tex is like pissed off that she's back. Like she's not happy. Church keeps bringing her back to life.
Mm-hmm. So, I like this a lot. And you know, Wash got to come out of his vacation now after this. You know,
finally, he's like, "Oh my god, there's a plot happening." He's like Javi. You know, he's like, "Oh shit, there's a plot happening." Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean that's literally what he says. Like, "Oh, the recovery beacon's going off. Quick, we gotta get to the plot. We gotta get to the plot." Poor guys too, by the way. Like. He
even says like, "I should have known they were going there," and I'm like, "Yeah, you should have known they were going there."
Yeah. So.
Yeah, come on, Wash. You're the best character in the show. Come on, man.
What are you doing, man? I do feel bad for him too because like, I mean, I know it's like an animation stuff. He had to go from being like the warm desert, then he had to go to be like the freezing cold snow. Like not long after this, like his body.
I know. He's like, "Oh my, yeah, no, it's legit. It's like when you fucking like step out of a hot shower and like your room is freezing."
Yeah. So
it's like, "Oh, I can't win."
Poor guy. He I felt bad. Like Wash got the shit end of the stick in all ways this season. He had.
Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking supposed to be the main villain. He's barely in it. God damn.
Poor guy. But doing all of this,
we're gonna get a cool thing from Washington now, at least.
Yeah. But before that, you know, before we get to some cool stuff, we have to talk. We have to fuck around a little bit. So.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like this whole part until like the end where Sarge gives his speech, it's like, come on, I feel like you could have cut this, or at least not. Maybe if not like remove it altogether, at least cut it down significantly.
Yeah. So you know, Simmons finds like the freelancer like equipment that they've been using, and he wants to make, you know, have the invisibility unit so that way he can like take naps so Sarge won't know about it, type of thing. And you know, Simmons attaches it to him, but he attaches you know, he doesn't even attach the right one. He attaches super speed instead. So you know. And because he doesn't have an AI, it just kind of starts malfunctioning and everything like that.
Yeah, I think that was the main point of this scene, is to establish like, okay, like this is what happens if you try to use a superpower without an AI.
Yeah, I mean we kind of saw that already though, like with the meta though.
Yeah, so I'm like, I feel like this is just like hammering at a point we already kind of got.
Yeah. You know, we got a funny bit here, I guess, though. Like, Simmons doesn't have just as, like, super speed. Like, everything's super speed. Like, he talks really fast now and everything like that. They did, like, a funny joke where, like, he ran by Sarge and, like, Sarge was like, "Why did I all of a sudden just feel like an annoyance by me?" type of thing. So that was funny.
Yeah. I do like how, like, Caboose and Tucker are just, like, having small talk. Well, I think Caboose says something like, "And the church said I love you." The end, and Tucker's like, "I didn't have that. Didn't happen."
Yeah. So then
Like it really is. Everyone's just kind of dicking around, not doing anything.
yeah. So then you know, they go to the databases, and Simmons, Phyllis is able to put it in really easily, and it kind of defeats Simmons a little bit because I think he wanted to do it like in a cool way type of thing, but it was just done like that. So that was kind of a little underwhelming. I kind of wish they would have actually like done it type of thing instead of because now it just felt like you just did it so that way you could fuck over a poor Wash. I mean, to say when saying everything's done to fuck him over type of thing, like poor guy. Like
Yeah, I know, right? God.
But doing all of this, we find out that everything we've been seeing in this show has been more director stuff because we find out that this whole red versus blue thing is just a simulation. It's all just done to kind of give the freelancers like a training simulation. They'll be put like in a big mission or something like that, and eventually a freelancer will come in and I guess just use their skills and everything like that, which makes sense because we saw like Wyoming come in at the end of season 1 or like towards season 1. Tech showed up, so that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we already kind of knew this because in season 6, Washington said like the Reds and Blues are both owned by Project Freelancer, and they use their bases for practice.
Yeah, and this defeats Soj. He's really hurt by this, which makes sense, because like his whole thing is he's like honestly, Soj is the whole reason they even talk about the red versus blue thing really anymore. So
yeah, he's the only one who gives a shit about the Reds fighting the Blues. Yeah.
So I do kind of like that. It does make sense. He's the one that's really distraught and destroyed by this news, and he goes to make his own base. And he just wants to be left to himself type of thing. He kind of goes into a little bit of a denial. This is I do kind of like this because we're reviewing it tomorrow. This is kind of like what happens to Buzz when he finds out he's not a real toy. No, sorry.
Yeah, you're right. That is kind of funny.
I said
the comparison.
Yeah, when Buzz finds out he's not a real but he's not a real space ranger type of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's not a real toy. Yeah, that would be fucked up. If Buzz wanted to be a toy and he's like, "Oh man, I'm actually a super cool space ranger," that sucks.
They should do the reverse of that, but
Yeah. Well, remember, there's a Buzz Lightyear cartoon. I wonder if in that, Buzz is like, "Oh, I'm not a toy. I'm actually a real person. Damn it."
I'm in the shitty live action film type of thing. Damn it.
Oh yeah, Lightyear exists. I try to pretend it doesn't, but Lightyear is a thing.
But then doing this, the recovery beacon goes off, and I guess this is when I'll let you talk because this kind of ties into.
Oh yeah. So wow, you got through that pretty quick. I thought that was going to take longer. But yeah, Caboose realizes the recovery beacon went off.
By the way, because you've covered this show. What did you think of find that they actually revealed because obviously it's been mentioned, a joke, but now it's actually canon to the plot now type of thing. So
I have mixed opinions on it because I feel like I'm cool with the Reds and Blues being owned by Project Freelancer, but they do a joke where all the crazy shit they went through in season 3 was all fake, and I don't quite like that. I don't like that everything they've done has been just because the director planned it.
Right.
I like everything kind of coming back to him in some way, but for him to have planned out every single thing. Which I don't think that's what they were implying, but it kind of came off that way.
And it was also kind of weird that he planned this, because the whole reason that Alpha even dies is because Caboose was there. So it seems like
right. So the idea, because the whole thing Washington said was he put Alpha in Blood Gulch, hoping he would just stay there and nothing would happen. Yeah. And obviously a shit ton of stuff happened. But the way this is coming across is that all the crazy shit that happened was planned, and doesn't even make sense because Tex is in Wyoming aren't working for Project Freelancer when they were in Blood Gulch.
Yes,
they were both rogue, so that doesn't make any sense. And it's also it feels a little underwhelming because we already kind of knew this. Remember, Washington said in season 6. You're owned by Project Freelancer, and we use your bases for training.
Yeah.
So now, again, they're finding out that they work for Project Freelancer, and they use their bases as training.
Especially too, because then how do you explain like the alien thing too, like with Junior and everything like that? That's kind of like why would because that's like set up,
Because that's like special. Like Tucker like got the sword and like that's unique to him.
Yeah.
And they were trying to say like, oh, that was scenario 3. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Right, because that was yeah, and then and then Omega shows up and everything like that. That's kind of like
yeah. So again, like none of that was planned by the director. Like we get a bit more clarification later on. The director didn't plan for any of that shit to happen. But the way like this is trying to say like, oh yeah, 1 through 5 was like literally all of that was planned by the director. It doesn't make any sense.
So I assume like they probably just did they just try to fix it in season 9 type of thing? Like
yeah, it seems like they get like later on they kind of just like backpedal on this a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, like as for like the reveal of like, okay, they're all working for Project Freelancer secretly, we kind of already knew that.
Yes, we did.
So it doesn't really feel like much of a reveal.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I do like this moment from Sarge, where like I do like he gets kind of depressed about it that like his whole military career was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I guess that's another thing. We do learn that like the reason like the people who are put in red and blue teams are people who are like shitty soldiers.
Yes, which I
do like that. That's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do like Sarge's thing because I can buy because I assume those people that like in real life in war when they were just put in like a situation because of circumstance type of thing, and I can imagine this is how a soldier would react to it. Because they've dedicated a whole career to it and everything like that. So,
but I like that Caboose is like coming to them to be like, hey guys, we gotta go help Church. Like his recovery beacon activated. Like they're in trouble because he doesn't know Tex is the one who shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Griff and Simmons are like, dude, what? No, hell no. Like, why would we go help them? Like we told them they're gonna go fucking get themselves killed. Oh, that's a good point. I don't think you brought that up. Was when they were leaving, Tucker mentioned that like he yelled at them and he's like, "Oh, great, go die again. We'll just go revive you again because it never gets old for us."
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah. So I do kind of like they're like, "No, fuck that. We told them not to go, and they got and like that they went. Now they're in trouble." And it's like, "No, fuck that. Why do we have to go put ourselves in danger again?"
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I do like how immediately Sarge was like, "Okay, let's go," and then Griff is confused and he's like, I'm not going, and this whole red versus blue thing's dumb anyway, like it's fake, and like you're not my commander anymore. And Sarge says, I'm not telling you to go, and I'm not even asking you to go. I'm going. If you want to come, then come.
Yeah.
And I love the speech he gives because, like I said, I love in like comedies where like they're assholes to each other, but like they are friends and they do like being around each other. And Sarge, this whole speech was basically Sarge saying that of like, Griff, you're lazy. And you always hate working, and like you hate all the stuff we're doing. So why didn't you just go? You could have went whenever you want. None of us would have stopped you, but you didn't. And Simmons, you always want to be in charge, but if you wanted to get your own team, they probably would have given one to you a long time ago. But you stuck here. And Tucker, he's a great soldier. He could have been off. He's like a bunch of aliens think he's super important. You're going to go off with the aliens and do your own thing. Like, you could do that. But you didn't. You're still here. And again, as I said, I don't think I clarified, but I like Sarge started off this speech with saying, you ever wonder why you're here? Calling back to the first line of the show.
Mm-hmm. And I like to, like, he said it to, like, Griff and Simmons, like, specifically, because they were the ones that were, like, having that conversation.
Yeah.
In that, like, episode. So...
And I do like we get a little bit of comedy when he looks at Caboose and he's like, Caboose, it's good to have you here. Because he didn't really think of any reason why Caboose, like what he could do besides this.
Which I think kind of...
And I got Caboose even like offended. He's like, oh yeah, thanks. I'm liking your speech so far.
Yeah.
He says, maybe, you're here because you don't fit in anywhere else. Maybe you're here because you don't have anywhere else to go. Or maybe deep down you want to be here.
Right.
Which I love that. I love that kind of like found family thing.
Yeah.
Of like, again, they all act like they don't like each other, but like in a weird way, they're all kind of family.
Yeah. I like this too. Like this speech really connects because, every day in people's lives, they talk about how they don't like their jobs. They talk about how they don't like, to go to to hang out with certain friends of theirs, or like they'll get annoyed, but then they're like, well, why do you keep going to these jobs? Why do you keep these people around? There has to be like a reason for it and everything like that. So this really connects like in that way and that type of thing. So.
And then he points out that pretty much the director is the result of everything in the freelancers, and how he's pissed off that the freelancers have been using them to like test it to see if they're ready for bigger fights. And he says, you know what? If these guys want to use us as guinea pigs and like take us all away from our homes to see if they're ready for a big fight, then I say let's go kick their asses and show them what a real fight's all about.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and because later on when the actual military shows up, the guy's kind of giving them a bunch of shit. He's like, "Oh yeah, go back to your training bases." And they're like, "Oh, we just call them bases." And he says, "Yeah, I bet you do." Right. And then they are like, "Hey, listen, we killed fucking 3. We just did your job for you, so shut up."
I kind of wish they would have gotten promoted at the end or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, I kind of like that, like, when people, like, give them shit later for not being real soldiers.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, listen, we did your job better than you do, so shut up.
Right. But this speech was really good.
Hey, listen, they were the ones who shut down Project Freelancer, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they were the ones who shut down the whole project in Season 6.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they needed Wash to do it, but, they had a hand in it, because, Caboose... honestly, they were gonna shut down, but Caboose risked his life, like went off that cliff to do it, type of thing.
Yeah, so. And remember, the meta back in Recovery 1 killed like multiple freelancer agents, and it was causing a ton of trouble for the director. And later on, he's gonna give Tex a pretty good run for her money. And now, to be fair, he's like super tired by the point the Reds and Blues fight him, but they still end up killing the meta.
Yeah.
Like, the meta was a force to be reckoned with, killing so many people, and the ones who finally put him down were the Reds and Blues. Like, that says something.
But I like that Sarge gave this speech, too, because, and he's the one that wants to go help the Blues, because obviously his whole character is that he doesn't like the Blues. Like, even, like, at that point when they were in the temple, locked in there, he thought the Blues set that all up. So I think that's awesome that, like, Sarge gives the speech, and he's the one that motivates everybody.
Yeah, this is really good development for Sarge. And we'll talk probably more about it at the end. But like, MVP for the season is definitely like Sarge and Church.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But then continuing. Well, there's a little bit more to this scene actually. So
yeah, so they're like, hey, Church and Tex have a big head start on us because they've left like a while ago. Like, how are we gonna catch up? Time to help them. And they end up taking a pretty cool walk to this bunker, and we don't see what's in it, but as we're gonna find out, it's like a big plane, and they're basically gonna fly there. And it's cool little detail is this is the same type of plane Sister took when she arrived in Blood Gulch.
Yeah, I did like,
which makes sense because both like freelancer planes.
I did like the comedy bit they did too. Cause like after Sarge gives a speech, like Griff is just like, "Let me get the keys," like kind of like.
Like he's not like, okay, yeah, Sarge, let's go do it. He's just like, okay, fine, let's go do it.
So like,
it's fun. Another funny thing is later on when they go to like attack the meta, Griff screams, "We're gonna fucking die!"
Yeah.
It's like how again, Sarge is like, "You're all doing this for a reason." Griff is doing it, but he's not happy about it.
Yeah. And that's funny that Griff's the one that screamed that too, because he's the one that almost dies in that fight too. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, back at I almost said winter solstice, but back at
well, it is winter.
Yeah. So back at the why was it snowy at that one, by the way? Was it just like further north type of thing?
Yeah, it was just further north. I'm pretty sure it was just like a snow base.
Yeah. But we see that Washington's gotta get to work now. He's
right, real quick. That's another thing. It kind of like season 6, where they're not really clear how far apart all these things are.
Especially too, because timeline.
Are they even on the same planet?
Right. Especially timeline wise, it seems like these are all happening like within a short amount of time, which is kind of weird because like the last episode, it seemed like a bit of time. I guess because they're driving faster, I guess, this time around versus season 7.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like Church, when they left the desert to go to the storage base, Church said he wanted to get there before nightfall.
Yeah.
So like it probably took a couple hours to get there, but like the snow base, we have no fucking clue how long it took them to get there.
But yeah, Wash has got to get to work now. You know, his vacation's over.
I know, right? It's a nice little desert getaway.
And Doc got a nice vacation too. Was the Meadow on vacation?
Yeah.
Or was
Oh,
he...
we've fucking finally left the desert. Jesus Christ. We were there for a while in season 7, and now we're finally fucking leaving it. Thank God.
Yeah. Was the Meadow on vacation too, or do you think was he just kind of doing his own thing? Has he been doing his own thing?
Yeah, he's having a good time. He wasn't complaining as much as Washington. He's like, you know what, this is nice.
The Meadow probably would have just stayed there if he really wanted to, type of thing. You know?
Yeah, he's like, you know what, I know I want to get these AIs and everything, but you know what, I think I'm just gonna chill here, be a desert man from now on.
I mean, he's pretty close to it. He already can't even speak, you know. So
I know, right? Well, again, if Church never got injured, they would have just been fucking chilling there, and the Meadow would have been like, you know what, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, he'd be looking for those AI.
He would have got his own redemption.
Yeah. And the Meadow was like, you know, the Meadow's vacation being over is what killed him in the end too. This poor guy, you know.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that's why he likes the desert. He ends up dying in a snowfield.
Yeah. He doesn't like the cold, man. But yeah, doing all this, you know, Washington, the Meadow, and Doc arrive. And, you know, they see that Epsilon is down and out, you know, and obviously Wash thinks this is weird because, like, no one's helping him or anything like that. So he, like, steps out of the vehicle and he, like, realizes this is a trap. And I like what Doc says here. He's just like, well, I think whoever set this trap would have realized it was a trap, and that's probably what the trap is. And Wash is just like, nah.
Yeah, Wash says that, like, this trap is like a classic for freelancers, and like whoever did this is probably a freelancer.
Yeah.
And Doc says, well, wait, if this trap is for you guys, they would have known you're freelancers, so they probably would have like set a trap for the trap.
And that's exactly what happened. There's a bunch of mimes around him in a circle, and a
bunch of mimes.
Oh, what?
It's mimes. You said mimes. Like, oh my god, a bunch of French guys in paintings pop out.
So
they trap them in a black box.
A bunch of mines, and you know, they blow up, and I like it too because when we come back to this, we see Justin from Washington, and he's in like he finally gets to be in the poor guy. He's finally in the new animation. He's fucking laid out doing the new animation too.
I know, right?
And actually, the past few
I think we get like his point. I like that we see like his point of view, where he wakes up, he's all disoriented, and he like looks at his hands.
Yeah.
And he sees text in the distance, and he tries to crawl to his gun.
I feel bad for him, by the way, too, because the past 2 times, like the first time he's been in the new animation has been when he's getting his ass kicked, pretty much. He got ran over by the freaking warthog, and he got blew up by landmines. So.
Oh, another little thing, because like I said, Tex is kind of an asshole this season. She almost killed Doc.
Yeah.
Like Doc was in the car, and she almost fucking blew him up.
Yeah.
So damn, Tex. Like, and aren't these people supposed to be your friends?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Wash tries to go for his gun, and Tex steps on it, and she's asking Wash where the director is, and obviously, because I do like this, because we know Wash doesn't know where the director is, so Tex is just gonna kill him because he's giving him information that he doesn't know, type of thing. And doing all this, the Meta jumps on Tex, and they get into like a little fight. And I do like this because we see that Tex is, it seems like, taking a while to set up these traps. Like it's a 2-on-1 situation, and it's Wash and the Meta versus Tex. And Tex does a pretty good job fighting them off. She like picks up the Meta like on her back at one point, and throws him up and like runs on like a snow like a snow like landfill type of thing, and like jumps up and like catches the Meta and like jumps down and like does like a torture act like backbreaker to like the Meta.
Oh yeah, I love that part where Tex basically set off a bunch of bombs on this like nearby cliff, and like all the rock starts falling down.
Yeah, that was.
And
cool.
I love this is all in one shot where like the avalanche is happening and they're like fighting in the avalanche.
Yeah, that was cool.
And like little details again. I like how like Tex punches Washington away, but before he does, he like swipes the rifle off her back.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that.
And then he has a rifle now, and he ends up shooting her and injuring her.
Mm-hmm.
I also like how it's mainly like the Meta fighting Tex because those two are like obviously a lot stronger than Wash. So Wash is kind of just like getting in a couple small hits and then getting punched away.
And yeah, the meta like takes checks and like throws her like, and she lands into a tree really bad. There's one bit where Tex does a really good job like fighting them off, and it's pretty logical too, because Tex is a badass, but also they're weak because the meta's also weakened because he doesn't have any of his AI, and he just got blown up. And same thing for like Wash, same type of thing. And again,
like we said, Tex had prep time. Like she like hid guns places, and like we said, she had a bunch of bombs like set up to like try and kill them.
Yeah, and at one point, when the mines go off, the meta like takes Tex and like throws her like. Because there was an avalanche going on, and like she threw her to like the other side of where there wasn't an avalanche going on, and during all this, Doc in Church, Doc's checking on Church, and he's trying to understand like why like Tex like attacked her and everything like that. I mean him, and the meta is able to jump over pretty easily to go from the avalanche to get safe pretty much, but obviously Wash is gonna struggle, and I did like that Doc saved him. Like Wash would have died, and his vacation he would have had his only vacation,
a permanent vacation to the afterlife. Yeah, it is cool that Doc ended up saving him, because it's a little weird because like Doc is like not on Washington's side, but I guess he likes Washington enough to not want him to die.
Good guy. So he tries to throw like the grappling hook at him. That's connected to the warthog, and obviously he does the second worst throw of all time. So like, I'm
glad that they did that callback. That's a funny thing.
Honestly, this might be a worse throw though than. To be fair, I mean, it wasn't completely though Doc's fault, because like when he was throwing it, there was I think it was meant to land like because there was an avalanche going on, and then like fell. Like when he went to throw it, it was still a pretty bad throw, but it wasn't completely his fault. I don't think he was gonna get it to Wash anyways. So like Wash, and
I like how Wash, you gotta be kidding me, and he has to like leap for it to like grab it.
Yeah, I did like that I liked that they didn't have him do the joke until after he was like safe, because it would have been bad if he did it before his safe type of.
Yeah. Once he was like back on the mainland, then he was like, that was the second worst throw ever of all time.
Yeah. Honestly,
and I like Doc's response where he's like, "What do you want from me? I ran track in high school."
So we need to have a throw-in match, Doc versus Caboose. See who would win that type of.
Well, remember, Caboose fucking threw that grenade like 2 feet in front of him. So honestly, I feel like Doc's got the better throw.
To be fair to Doc, it is cold there, So I like how I'm giving Doc all the excuses, like,
and again, listen, that grappling hook's probably fucking heavy.
Yeah. And then this fight continues. Eventually,
well, I like how by that point, like, it's kind of died down a little bit. Like both Tex and the meta are pretty weak at that point.
Yeah, and then eventually, the meta stabs Tex with because he had the Epsilon unit, and he stabs like a helmet and everything like that, and this causes Tex's body to get destroyed, and then she ends up going inside the Epsilon unit. And
now this is a cool little thing. The image of like Tex's helmet with like the big hole in it was actually a teaser image for the season.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So kind of a little hint of what ends up happening. Yeah.
And then at this point, I've kind of failed to mention this. In the beginning of the fight, like Wash and the meta were working together, but I kind of didn't notice this until I came back and watched it the second time. You could kind of see the meta was kind of going rogue in this fight a little bit, and like fighting Tex and like not really listening to Wash anymore.
Yeah, because like you said, when they were like falling, like the part of the land they were on was sinking into the ocean. The meta just like jumped up and like totally abandoned Wash.
Yeah.
Like you said, Washington was like saying to the meta like, "Hey, listen, we don't need to like hurt her. Like you've already got her." And then the meta just like stabs her in the face anyway.
Yeah. So I do kind of like you don't notice it like first watch around, but like second time watch around, you could definitely see like the meta's kind of going rogue in this fight, but you don't notice it. I think that's what LVB does really well. Like they'll put things in knowing you're probably gonna watch it for the second time go around, so like you'll notice them second go around.
Yeah. And to be fair, I do like that. Like the Washington and meta were like never really loyal to each other. Even in a little bit, Washington's going to be like, I always knew you were going to do this.
Yeah. So then, Church is upset, that, Tex is trapped in there, and, he threatens to fight Wash pretty much. He throws Doc into it, and Doc is just like, nah, this isn't my fight, man. Like, I'm not doing this.
I do love that. He's like, we can fight you. And Doc's like, we can. And Churchill's like, we will. And Doc is like, oh, great. And listen, good thing what ends up happening is what happens, because fucking Church and Doc would have gotten destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't have even been like a 5-second fight. It would just been like, oh my god.
Yeah. And, Washington reveals that, like, he rigged it so that way, like, it was only one way, so that way, Epsilon couldn't escape. And, he has, he tries to get the Meta to hand him, the unit, but then we see that Epsilon finally betrays Wash, and he puts the unit on his back.
You mean the Meta?
Yeah, the Meta. We're over 3 hours in, so this is going to happen a lot now.
I know, right? I was going to say, like, yeah, we're definitely losing steam a bit. We're almost done, though.
Yeah. Eventually the Meta's like, damn it, and, like, this kind of kicks into Wash. So, the Meta kind of starts to take the fight to, Church and, Doc. And, I liked, Washington does a pretty good job at first fighting off the Meta. He gives him, like, bear hugs from behind, and, like, he grabs onto his helmet, but he's getting his ass kicked by the Meta. And I do like what Wash says, is like, I always knew you would do this, Meta. But he's about to say, like, I just can't believe that, like, I didn't see it coming, type of thing. But before he can say that, the Reds show up, and Tucker, and Caboose, in the ship, and they're getting ready to, crash out and save everybody. But they end up crashing the ship, and they land they don't land on the Meta. I think they nearly landed on, like, Doc type of thing.
Yeah, they were like 2 inches away from, like, fucking running over Doc.
Yeah. And I did like this. This was a good callback to Two Thins in the show when Sister showed up for the first time, and when they fucked up their, like, attack on the Blues, in season 6, which is what allows the Meta to escape, like, originally. So I kind of like here. This was like
this saves them from the Meta, because the Meta was about to kill Washington, and this, like, knocks out the Meta for a little bit.
Yeah. Doing all this, they do a funny joke where, like, Church is wondering if, like, an AI trapped in, like, another body can piss himself, and because he just did that. A little weird
that Wash and Church are kind of, like, now cool with each other. Like, they're kind of, like, talking a little bit, and like, okay, let's go check on your friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Wash, you were like a villain 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I get it, because, like, right now, like, the meta is kind of, like, more important. They kind of have to, like, work together, but, like, still, like, they kind of get over the whole hatred thing pretty quick.
Yeah, I did think that too. And then, they go check on him. We see the Epsilon unit. Epsilon wants to save Tex, and and wants, like, Wash to open it so, like, he can help release Tex. And Wash says he can't do it. He needs, like, a proper lab with facility, like, equipment. So he has, like, he makes a deal that, like, he'll do it if Epsilon goes with him. And at this point now, when seeing that, like, Tex can be saved, like, Epsilon kind of agrees to go with Washington.
I guess that's why they're kind of being cool with each other. Is, again, Washington still wants to capture Epsilon. And he's like, okay, yeah, listen, I'll do this deal with you, okay?
So, like, he sends out, like, the Reds and, like, Tucker and Caboose to go, I don't think he sent Caboose, because Caboose probably would have fucked it up, but he sends, like, Tucker and stuff to go get, like, the equipment that he needs. And, this is where, like, Church has, like, an emotional scene with Wash, where, he talks about how, like, Tex was, like, special. He was someone from, like, the director's, like, past life. And, like, this is when kind of Wash realizes, that, like, Epsilon's kind of starting to get his memories back. And he, like, says, like, if that was Allison. And, he talks about how, Tex represents failure. When, originally when Allison, the director's original life was alive, he, all the memories he has of her is basically like the last stages of her life when she was like dying and everything like that. And that's why Tex like failed all the time as an AI. And the original Tex we saw, it makes more sense because every mission that she did, except Out of Mind, but even that kind of like failed long term. There was like a little tiny bit of success. That's like Allison had like one good day originally, but then everything else like sucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that was kind of a dark joke I just went to right there, but whatever.
I know, right? Because Church even said, like, no matter how tough she is, she's always going to fail every single time. It's like, damn. That's gonna suck. X is, like, so powerful, but it doesn't even matter.
I remember we've talked about that before, too, like with the lessons of Ben 10, like, brute force in it. When we try to put Tex in the scenario, like, no matter the scenario, Tex is always gonna fail.
Yeah.
And I do like this, because the Church, and I says to like Wash, do you know what it's like to like have to go through all these hoops just to come out failing and having the world be against you anyways? And I kind of like that because that's kind of what we've been seeing Washington kind of go through like the entire time he's been on screen.
Yeah, exactly. He even says that at the end of season 7, where like I've been lied to, taken advantage of, stabbed in the back, and left for dead. Like it just everything seems to be against the guy. So I do like when the meta wakes up finally. He was invisible. Like, and he still had the Epsilon unit on him. And then Washington says, yeah, I think I got the idea.
I mean, it honestly relates to this season, too, because Wash got fucked over this season, too.
Yeah, really. The writers are like, fuck you, Washington. You want to be a cool villain this season? Not on my watch.
Do you think Bernie burns, or do you think other writers were fucking him over this season? What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be funny, because Church, Bernie Burns' voice is Church. So it's like Church is giving Washington the speech of, like, always failing, and Washington's like, yeah, I know, dude, your voice actor wrote this season where I'm not doing shit.
And you see bloopers get released. It would have been awesome if they just said that in the bloopers type of thing. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But the meta wakes up, and everyone kind of starts fighting each other again, and doing all this, the Blues hear this commotion go down, so they kind of go out to make the save, and they do that scene, where they charge in, and like Griff says, "Oh, we're all gonna die," type of thing.
Yeah.
And I like this fight a lot. Yeah. Again, because a lot of it was taken up by Texas versus the Reds. So
yeah, but I like it. I like how Simmons still using that rocket launcher he picked up at the storage base.
Yeah, that was good.
Shoots it, and we get to see the meta use some of his powers now. Like he used the shield, and then the rocket launcher goes off. He immediately like fucking super jumps into the air, and Simmons fired another rocket launch, but the meta fucking used his like brute shot as like a shield and like fucking bounced it off, and then cut the rocket launcher in half. Tucker went to go stab him, but he got knocked away. Same thing. I like how he's using his like gun as like a shield when Sarge tries to shoot him, and he just like blocks it.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, sorry, go ahead.
And during this fight, Wash gets like out of commission, like because he's been weakened. And I think the meta like got like a good stab onto him. One thing I did like in this fight too, when Wash was fighting the meta, as the meta went invisible, and Wash had like a knife on him, and he like threw it at the meta, and it still stabbed him and everything like that.
Wash is good with knives, which is cool. They end up doing a callback to that in a future season where someone tries to like stab Wash, and he like grabs it midair, and he's like, "Hi, you're not the only one who's good with a knife."
That's cool.
Like similarly, when Washington grabbed that gun off of Tex's back, I like how Griff like starts like bear hugging the meta, and the meta like knocks him off, but Griff is able to like swipe his gun from him.
Yeah.
And that's a little detail I didn't notice the first time I watched it, but then it ends up being important because having that gun on him saves Griff's life.
And then Tucker fights the meta, and he stabs it a couple times.
Well, real quick, he knocks Sarge on his ass, and Sarge tries to shoot him, but then the meta like spins him around. And while Sarge is getting fucking spun around, Sarge tries to shoot him again. Like, damn, man.
Yeah.
You're going to spin around like a Ferris wheel, and he's still trying to shoot. And then he throws him into Simmons and Griff, and they end up going flying. And then, like you said, Tucker ends up fighting him for a little bit and stabs him in the chest.
Like twice. And this ends up kind of being important because this causes like his freelancer equipment to kind of fuck up, like short circuit a little bit and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I'll say. So what happens is, he ends up going into the ocean, and his suit ends up filling with water because of like the puncture wounds.
Yeah.
So if Tucker didn't stab him, he might have been able to like disconnect from the car and like swim up.
Yeah.
But because Tucker stabbed him, like his suit filled with water and he drowned. So Tucker ended up, being like essential for that.
That's cool. So then, doing all this, the Meta grabs Sarge by the neck, / throat,
you missed an important thing. So Wash was on the ground injured, like you said from before, and Sarge is trying to tell him like, "Hey, we gotta help Tucker," and Wash says like, "No, I'm too injured, I'm done." But like, "Hey, Sarge, like here, take this, you know what to do." So I like that even though Washington can't fight anymore, he's the one who gave Sarge the idea to attach the Warthog to the Meta, and like Griffin Simmons think Sarge is like trying to get himself killed because he keeps like shooting the Meta and like it's not working and like slowly walking towards him.
I liked that, yeah.
And then like you said, the Meta grabs Sarge by the throat, but while the Meta is distracted, he attaches the Warthog to the Meta, and Sarge starts saying, "Oh no, I lost my shotgun," which if you remember from earlier in the season is his code word.
And they fucked it up originally, kind of. Like, they didn't get it originally, but then, like, Simmons and Griff kind of pick up easily, and they push, I forgot to mention, too, when they showed up on that ship, they pushed the ship off, like, the ledge earlier, and then here they pushed the Warthog off the edge, and we see that the Meta, it's, like, Sarge put the grappling hook on him, and he's attached to the Warthog, and the Meta starts, like, being dragged by the Warthog, and he tries to take Griff with him, and the Meta falls, and we see Griff fall, but we don't see what happened to him. So the Meta's dead.
Yeah,
I thought the Meta.
I'm cool with that death. I thought it was like it really felt like everyone had to work together to take him down.
Yeah, I really liked that. And
Caboose, because they said like Church got injured, and they were like, "Hey, Caboose, stay with Church."
Yeah, but don't kill him.
Yeah,
but I do like that. I like that it was a struggle to kill the Meta. And I like that everyone had to work together and everyone did something significant to the Meta to like finally beat him up at the end.
Third thing I never even noticed the first time before the Meta gets dragged off the cliff and like he's holding Sarge like reaches behind the Meta's back and like flicks the Epsilon unit off of him.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So that's why like the Epsilon unit falls off, which was smart. Like that. If he's gonna get dragged off. Sarge very quickly just like knocked it off him. Yeah.
And then
so that happened 3 times where somebody had something on their back and someone else just like fucking yoinked it.
I know. So then they do a funny joke where we don't see Griff and like Sarge and everyone are playing respect to him, and Simmons is just like, we could just look and off in like 2 seconds to see if he's alive, but Sarge doesn't want to do it obviously because he doesn't like Griff. And then you just hear off screen Griff is just like, "Oh, just look off the damn cliff, damn it," type of thing. So I liked that joke. I thought that was a good joke.
Yeah, and he was hanging on with the Meta's weapon, so that's really cool that Griff swiping that ended up being important. Well, obviously it's the Meta didn't have his weapon, but yeah, it ended up saving his life too. And I like what Sarge said. I was like, "Damn it, I hate cliffhangers."
Yeah, that was a good joke. And then Church like realized there's kind of nothing they can really do to like get Tex out now because like the only person that could have helped him is out of commission, they also said they can't move like the unit because it's too badly damaged now at that point after the fight with Tex in the meadow and everything, so Church has an idea that he's gonna try to go inside and see if he can find Tex, and he kind of says goodbye to everybody. He tells Caboose to keep his memory alive, type of thing, and he goes inside. And
I also like what he says of like, memory's the key, which that was an important thing for the whole trilogy. And so he says, if I leave, you got to keep me on. Yeah, like you said, keep my memory alive. But I like what he says of don't let Tucker help; he'll just fuck it up.
Yeah.
And I like he says like goodbye, buddy. Church is always giving Caboose shit, but I do like he was being genuine when he said that.
Yeah. So then he goes into the Epsilon unit, and we never see. He doesn't come out. He doesn't make it in time, and that's it. Like everyone's kind of upset about it, and I do kind of like that. He didn't come out like last second type of thing. Like he just didn't come out type of thing. So.
Which is funny because Church even brings it up like in his speech at the end, where he's like, I would like to say I walked in and she was there waiting for me, but as you can imagine, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah. So I liked that. I like this whole fight scene. I like the death of the meta. It was really awesome. And now we're at the end. Yep.
So the military shows up, and they're like, okay, they're like, well, how come the ship crashed? And they're like, oh, the meta must have hijacked it. That's weird. But they're like, okay, you go back to your training base. Like I said, they're kind of giving them shit, like, because they're not real soldiers. And they're like, hey, we did your job. And they're like, well, hey, I mean, yeah, I got to give you guys props, though. You guys killed 3 freelancers because I guess they said they killed the meta, Tex, and Washington. And we see Washington's body on the ground. And by the way, I like this was a callback to Recovery 1, how every episode would start off with like someone overlooking a dead body.
Yeah, that was good.
And season 6 started off the same way. So I like the ending of season 8 started off with like a guy looking over a dead body.
Yeah, I liked that.
And because Sarge said in the previous scene that like they weren't sure if Washington was going to make it because he was really beat up. But we pan over and we see that we have a new blue guy in Church's armor, but like the yellow stripes Washington had. So clearly Washington has faked his death because obviously if he didn't get Epsilon, then he was going to have to go back to jail. But he's basically pretending that Washington died and he's on blue team.
And I like this a lot because one, I don't think you could have knowing that there's more now. But I don't think you could have killed Washington off because it would have been kind of disappointed if we're going to get stuff with the director and we don't have Wash for that. I feel like Wash kind of needs to be there for it.
And also, we kind of like had him, you had him come back as a villain and then you're going to kill him immediately. I'm like, eh.
Yeah. But I like this a lot, too, that the Blues help him type of thing. He doesn't even know why they're helping him. He's just like, well, you helped us, so we're going to help you. And, this kind
that was a little weird, because he didn't really help them.
Yeah. But this is kind of redemption for Wash, because the whole reason he turned into a villain was because everyone kept fucking him over. So now finally kind of, someone's kind of going out of their way for, like, him to help him type of thing.
Yeah. And this does end up being a really important thing for Washington. That, like, for once in his life, he's met people who, like, are, like, his friends and, like, aren't trying to fuck him over.
And I think that's going to be, like, a cool dynamic for future seasons now. Because, typically in the RVB, like, universe, when they have these fights, that's all comedy. Now Wash is going to be basically the straight man. Like, kind of like Church was, like, in the beginnings of, like, the Blood Gulch era. So
yeah, but even then, Church was an idiot, whereas Washington's, like, actually, like, competent.
And now I wanted to, like, are they even going to end the... I mean, I don't even know what's going to happen. I like, if they're going to still do some infighting, but, like... Now they have someone that can actually, like, kick their ass now, pretty much. Like,
yeah, and I like how Griff even points that out. Like, so, Blue Team's got a new recruit, huh? Well, actually, he says he doesn't look so tough.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Griff. But they all decide they're all going back home. And they end up stealing the guy's helicopter. And the guy's like, hey, I'm going to lose my job.
That was funny. I like that.
The tech guy there is, like, trying to get the Epsilon unit to work, but it's not going to work. So the guy says, who cares? Just throw it in storage. And then we get, so that's kind of it for the Reds and Blues for this season. They all won the day and they're all going back home, which I'm fine with that. Again, I'm glad that Washington has finally found some people who, like, aren't trying to fuck him over. And it's also nice because, he didn't really care about them much in season 6. They were kind of just, like, working together for a common goal.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of liking that, like, Wash is, like, now he has a reason to be grateful to these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he tried to kill them and now he's, like, now they've accepted him as part of them. So I kind of like that. Again, I feel like they could have done that a bit better. Where, like, I feel like they didn't really owe Washington anything.
Right.
Like, he didn't really help them that much. Yeah, but then we get, from inside the Epsilon unit, we get Church's speech. And like how season 5 ended, I like how we're ending it off. Like, this, like, part of the show off on, like, Church kind of giving us, like, what he's learned throughout this whole thing.
I like this a lot.
Not even just this season trilogy. Because at the end of the season 5 of the Blood Gulch Chronicles, we get Church saying how at first he just hated everybody, because it was what he was told to do. But after going through all these adventures, he's learned to hate them for the right reasons, because they're all assholes, and he has to deal with them every day.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, it's funny, but like it is like a lesson he's learned. Like he's learned to know these guys personally.
Right.
And here, you know, kind of tying into the memory is the key thing. Like that, you know, we get even though the director doesn't show up in this season, we get a lot of characters kind of like speculating on like why he did the things he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Church says, like, you know, I'm not sure why the director like made Tex. Like, I'm not sure if he did it because, you know, he wanted to see her again, or if like he just wanted to get her out of his head. Like you know, he didn't care about bringing her back. He just wanted her out of his head because like he was suffering so much. But he's learned something the director didn't, and it took, you know, the Alpha and Delta and all the other guys to figure it out. But he's finally learned this: that a great love is a lot like a good memory. You know, like you can try to force it, which is what Church has been doing. He's kept bringing Tex back over and over against her will. But you know, like that just seems to bring Tex further and further away from him. But he decides, you know what? If I'm patient, maybe Tex will come to me. Or like maybe the good memory will come to me. So I'm gonna be in a place where I know she can find me. And we see Blood Gulch, or like a new version of Blood Gulch. And this is cool because, like I said, Epsilon was never actually in Blood Gulch.
So yeah, he doesn't really know it. So like, this is just him from his
yeah, and he even says like out there everything was based on the Alpha, but in here, I'm the Alpha.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe things will be a little different for me. And we get to see these like fake versions, or like Epsilon's versions of Tucker and Caboose. And we kind of get like the very beginning of season 1 where they're saying, "Hey, we got a tank coming in. Church, let's go check it out." And you know, Church says, "I'll be right there." And the final line for the season is, "And I mean, hell, if you have to live the rest of your life in a memory, you might as well make it a good one." And I love that. Again, Church has always complained how much he fucking hates these guys.
Yeah.
But he decides, if I have to live in a memory for the rest of my life, you know, it's back in Blood Gulch, hanging out with these guys, these morons.
I think this is, you know, a great lesson, you know, that you can't bring the person back type of thing, but like just remember the good memories with these people and everything like that.
Yeah.
And this ties into greatly in a lot of the shows like we're reviewing now. Like honestly, like in Yellow Jackets, that's why Shauna kind of like is the way she is. She can't really, even though her and Jackie ended on like bad terms, her not really remember.
She can't look at all the years of good memories. Yeah.
And then when she does, all she thinks about is everything that happened in the wilderness and everything like that. And then, you know, in Breaking Bad with Jesse, you know, when we see in the flashbacks, that's all like his memories of these people. And like, even though him and Walt didn't end things the greatest, it's kind of good to know that Jesse has like a good memories of like Walt.
Yeah, like his good memory of Walt was like after the desert. Yeah, they were like eating breakfast. Yeah.
And, you know, that's like a good memory that we have in life. You know, I haven't shared this before. One of the reasons this video was delayed is, you know, I went to South Carolina and everything like that. And, you know, my grandmother passed away, unfortunately, you know, over the summer. And, you know, one of the last altercations we had with each other, you know, she was struggling with her sickness and everything like that. And I think she wanted to shield me from it because she didn't want me to see her that way type of thing. And she wanted me to leave the room at one point. And unfortunately, that's the last memory we have. You know, she was kind of worried about it. And that sucks, you know, that's going to be the last memory that we have together type of thing. But I remember all the good memories because we always had like a great relationship. So in a way, you know, watching that stuff, the Church's speech, I kind of resonate with that. Like, you know, it kind of sucks that my grandmother and I's like last altercation that we had wasn't what we would have wanted, but like us remembering the good times is like what I'd like to think of type of thing. So. Oh yeah,
of course. And you know, similarly, my mom unfortunately passed away earlier this year. And last time I talked to her was a phone call. She told me she was her and her boyfriend were gonna like leave Massachusetts to go somewhere for his job. And you know, I told her like, "Hey, don't do that. Like, you know, your father just passed away. You know, you should stick around for a while. You know," and she's like, "Don't leave." And unfortunately, you know, she didn't listen to me, and you know, she ended up dying a couple days later.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate of that's something I think about a lot of them, like, just she never listened to me throughout her whole life, and I feel like if she just for once listened to what I had to say, she'd still be here. But me and my mom, we didn't have a great relationship, especially over the last couple of years. But the last time I saw her physically in person was my college graduation, and that was a good time. She said she was proud of me, she loved me. We all went out to dinner and had a really good time. I hugged her before she left. So I try to think of, like, last time I saw her in person was like a really good memory, and it was probably the best memory I had of her in years.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just grateful for that.
So in a weird way,
it's sad that's the last memory I have of her, because I can never really look back at my college graduation without being a little sad. That's the last time I saw my mom.
Right.
But if I was gonna have a last memory of my mom, I guess that would have to be it. Over the last couple of years. So again, with church, I'm glad that like we had him being such a miserable asshole and always saying he hated these guys. Literally, the last speech he had like this was him saying, he's learned to hate these motherfuckers.
Right.
But now this speech is him saying, like, if I had to live in a memory, I'd want it to be a good one. And the good memory he has, especially because, remember, the Epsilon unit is like he ended up trying to kill himself inside of Washington because of all the shitty memories. So, like, the Reds and Blues have given him good memories to look back on fondly of.
And I do like to, like, he's still gonna look for, like, Tex type of thing.
Yeah, I think he hasn't given up on finding Tex, and he's like, he reunited with Tex in Blood Gulch, so in a way, he's like, it's a good memory of the Reds and Blues, and if I'm here, maybe Tex will show up.
And I think that's the thing the director couldn't get over. He just couldn't, get over the fact that, like, his wife dying and everything like that. Like, he can't, like, think of the good memories anymore. He's, like, thinking of all the bad memories. So
yeah, I love that when Church had that talk with Washington, where he says, she died in the real life, and that's all the director ever remembered about her. Like, yeah, like, and as I said earlier, Epsilon said that he couldn't get Tex out of his head, so he had to get her out of his head, like, literally. And when we heard the director's journal, he said, Tex was a byproduct of Alpha.
Yeah.
And, Epsilon clarified more of, like, when he made Alpha, Tex came back. So basically, Alpha had all of the director's memories. So he also shared the director's, like, pain of, like, remembering Allison and her being dead. So, when he, so Alpha basically created Tex. She was the first fragment.
Yeah, I like that. And I do like that, something based on the director learned this lesson, but, like, the director himself hasn't, like, learned this lesson, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's like Church has learned it, but not the original Church. Yeah. And it's fucked up in a way because, when Church said he made it all for Tex, that is true because, she was the first fragment. And, Tex being created is what gave the director the idea to, like, torture the Alpha and make more fragments.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in a way, like, Alpha not being able to get over Tex and creating Tex is what started everything.
Yeah, so that's insane. But that's the end of Season 8.
Yeah, I love Season 8. As you said, it's not your... you like Season 6 more, which is totally fair. It's pretty tough for me. I still think I like Season 8 more than 6 by a small margin. Is it my favorite season? As I told you, I kind of go back and forth between 8, 10, and 13. And then, like, Season 6 is, like, a solid 4th place.
Okay.
So I definitely think Season 8 is in my top 3. Depending on my mood, it might be 3rd, it might be 2nd, it might be 1st. I think I gave Season 6, like, an A+ or an S tier. And that's about what I give Season 8, A+ or an S tier. They're all really close in my mind.
I'm going to go A. Obviously, I've kind of gave my criticisms, not really getting a lot of wash, and I feel like they kind of missed the opportunity with him as, like, a villain. The fight with Tex goes a little too long, and there's bits in it that I'm not particularly a fan of. Tex is a little bit too cold in this season, which is kind of funny because she goes into the snow, but, like, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then, I feel like they stay at, like, that facility for a little too long. So, but,
yeah, I agree.
The highs are really high, though. Like, I like the fight in the beginning of Valhalla. I like, when Tex actually does come back. And I do like that fight that they have, just to have critiques on it. I like Sarge this season. Like we said, he's like the MVP. His speech is really awesome. And then I like Church kind of finally learning that lesson in his little speech at the end, and that the fact that Wash is going to be part of the Blues now and everything like that. So I'm gonna go A. Yeah, it does suck that season 6 is my, and we got the new animation this season too, so I really like that too.
Yeah, this is a game changer for the whole show. Oh, and also I sent Owen the credits songs. I wasn't sure if his version had the credits, and
it did.
This is gonna be a cool trend from now on, is that usually like the songs in Red versus Blue, not even just the credits, like the songs that'll play throughout the show, they'll like typically be from a character's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. I'll see that next season. But yeah, good music. Good animation. Blended it really well. Good story. Like I said, unfortunate that Washington and the Meta weren't in it as much as they should have. But I do like what we get from them. I liked all the fights. The Tex versus Reds and Blues was more of an issue for you. It's still an issue for me that we didn't get like other things because of that fight, most likely. But I still really like the fight overall. Like you said, definitely in that facility for too long. But overall, I still really enjoy this season. It's got more problems in season 6, but I think the highs are higher.
That's fine.
Well, it's cool. It's cool to get a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I think I think that's our. We both still like it, but it is cool that we differ on how we feel about the best season of the Recollection trilogy.
Yeah, that's cool. We haven't had a difference of opinion yet. We're not tearing each other's throats out trying to convince each other either way.
Of course.
So
no, like I totally get why you prefer season 6. I totally understand that. And I think we both agree Recollection trilogy was better than the Blood Gulch Chronicles overall.
Definitely. Probably I like I do like the reveals better probably in season 6 too than in season Church being the alpha.
That is true. I definitely will say the Church being the alpha and the director being Church are like two amazing reveals. I said the highs are higher this season, but I think I was saying like more overall. Like as if we're saying like the actual highest high, like those two reveals are like some of the best moments in the show.
Too. I didn't know. I have a different perspective watching seasons. I didn't know Wash was alive until like I saw like season 6. So like.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, because you didn't know Wash was alive for fucking years.
Yeah.
But it's a little sad that this is the end of the Recollection trilogy. But we're moving in to the Freelancer saga, and this is cool because Owen already knows this. We're gonna get a lot of past and present storyline. We're gonna be cutting back to before season 1, back when Project Freelancer was in full swing, and we're also gonna get present storyline. I'm not gonna say anything on that because Owen doesn't know what happens after this season. And it's cool because we're doing Yellow Jackets, which is also doing like a big past and present storyline. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it too. I know the past few times we talked off camera, it's mainly been from like wondering what the past is, but I'm also wondering about the present too. Because what's gonna tie in the present? Wash being around definitely helps too. Are they gonna get Church out of there? And Tex, you forget Tex is in there too. Are they gonna get them out of there?
Yeah, I know, right?
What will be the plot? I know it's gonna be some with the director, but how does that happen, type of thing. So that's gonna be interesting, and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward.
But this video is. But this video's gone on pretty long, so we'll end it here. Really good season, solid ending to the Recollection trilogy. Look forward to our future Red versus Blue videos.
Definitely. Will we be right back? Well, we won't be, but I don't know. I don't know. I've lost a lot of steam, so